At a baseball game, everyone feels excited to watch Ji-hyuk, who is known as one of the best pitchers among all the middle schools. The score is 9-0 at the end of the 5th inning, and there are already 2 strikes with the bases fully loaded. It becomes clear that Ji-hyuk loves baseball so much because he has been playing it since the time he first learns how to walk. He then swings his arm with all his strength and throws the ball straight toward the batter, who gets struck out because the fastball is too strong to hit. With that final out, Myeongseong Middle School wins the match. Later that same day, Ji-hyuk's father continues to teach him more about baseball and explains that the most important weapon for a pitcher is a strong fastball, since it is the best way to last until the very end of the game. His father also talks about other types of pitches, such as a breaking ball, and then asks Ji-hyuk to throw a fastball toward him so he can practice more. Ji-hyuk's father is a huge fan of baseball, and by chance he joins a baseball club in college. From that moment, he falls in love with the sport and later grows up to become an ordinary man in Korea who truly enjoys baseball. Because of his strong love for the game, Ji-hyuk does not have the popular toys that other kids usually have, and instead, his only toys while growing up are a baseball and a glove. After some time, Ji-hyuk's younger sister walks up to him and asks if he has a baseball match coming soon, and he tells her that the finals are about to take place. Hearing this, Ji-hyuk's father quickly explains that their opponent in the finals is Donghak Middle School, and he warns that compared to them, Myeongseong Middle School usually gets stuck in the semifinals, so Ji-hyuk should not lower his guard. Even though he listens carefully, Ji-hyuk actually feels very nervous about the finals because it is the first time in his life that he is playing in a final match. Soon, it's the finals and the coach tell Ji-hyuk not to get nervous and throw the ball like he usually does, as there's no need to think of the finals as anything special. At the same time, the commentators say that Donghak Middle School will probably win the match, but they also say that because Ji-hyuk is playing, it is hard to make a clear prediction. They explain that he is only 13 years old, yet he can throw a fastball that reaches 135 km per hour, which shocks many people. Soon after that, the game starts, and Ji-hyuk throws his first fastball of the match, and it becomes a strike. Meanwhile, a man sitting in the audience reads about Ji-hyuk and learns that he is known as the most promising player in the National Middle School Baseball Championship. Just then, another man arrives and meets him, and it is shown that the seated man is his coach. The new man asks what he is so curious about that he comes there right away. The coach explains that one player really stands out to him, and according to the player's profile, his father, who loves baseball, makes him practice and do everything related to baseball since he is a baby. This shows that both the father and the son are very serious and ready to work hard. After that, the game keeps going, and Ji-hyuk already strikes out 8 batters, which makes everyone in the stadium feel amazed at how such a young player can throw such powerful and accurate balls. The commentators keep talking about his performance and mention that there are moments when his pitching speed even goes over 140 km per hour, making it clear that he still has a lot of room to grow and become even better in the future. The coach and the same man from earlier also continue their discussion, saying that Ji-hyuk is truly an incredible player, and what makes it even more surprising is that he is left-handed, which is something rare in baseball. The coach once again explains that Ji-hyuk's pitching form looks very clean and smooth, and since his ball control is so strong, every throw looks almost perfect, which is the main reason why so many people are talking about him during this tournament. Ji-hyuk's father always wants him to become a pitcher, and Ji-hyuk also believes that a pitcher shines like the main character on the field, so he thinks it is the best position and begins pitching with a childish dream of becoming the main focus of the game. He then remembers something his coach once tells him, that only people who are born with real talent can truly become pitchers. The coach says that anyone can throw a ball, but to throw it exactly where he wants it to go, he must have a strong and brave mind so he can throw it without fear. Ji-hyuk understands that when a pitcher has true talent, the quality of his ball stays in his control, and if a pitcher does not have good control, he can never grow into a truly good pitcher. After that, Ji-hyuk throws another very fast ball that flies straight into the catcher's glove, and with that final play, Myeongseong Middle School wins another match. The next morning, Ji-hyuk's sister tries to wake him up by telling him that there is a huge picture of him printed in the newspaper. While they are still talking, Ji-hyuk and his sister hear loud noises coming from outside the house, so they go out to see what is happening, and they find their father gathering and saving pictures of Ji-hyuk because he says he is now a very proud father. Later at school, many students crowd around Ji-hyuk and start asking him if he is going to become a famous star soon or if he is going to earn millions of dollars in the future. After dealing with all the attention, Ji-hyuk goes to meet his coach to discuss a few things, and the coach tells him that he did an excellent job and that he feels truly proud of him as his coach. The coach explains that there is no special reason for calling Ji-hyuk that day, and he only wants to praise him for all the hard work he has been putting in, thank him for his effort, and give him some helpful advice for the future. He also says that many different situations will come, but from what he sees, Ji-hyuk is becoming more mature, so he should stay strong and keep working hard without giving up. The coach adds that history shows how athletes who truly put in effort and stay dedicated are the ones who get recognized and rewarded in the end. He further reminds Ji-hyuk to always take care of his health, because nothing is more important for an athlete than his own well-being. Hearing these sincere words from his coach makes Ji-hyuk feel happy, proud, and more confident about his future. Later, Ji-hyuk meets up with a man who keeps saying many nice things about him and even adds that if he continues performing like this, he could become the ace who leads their country in the future. Ji-hyuk feels a little uncomfortable hearing all these praises and wonders why the man keeps talking without taking any breaks. The man then points out that it seems like Ji-hyuk only throws fastballs and asks if there is a special reason for that. Ji-hyuk immediately realizes that the man might be a reporter because of how sharp and precise his questions are, and he tells him that he is just following his father's advice about always sticking to the basics. The man replies that he is sure several agencies from all over would want to sign a contract with Ji-hyuk, and he admits that he is really jealous about that. Later on, Ji-hyuk sits down with one of his friends and tells him that he feels tired because the reporters keep talking and asking questions without ever seeming to get tired. Ji-hyuk adds that it's all nice, but receiving all this attention from one game is too burdensome, but Ji-hyuk's friend tells him that he can be a little more confident. The guy tells Ji-hyuk that even though those people may act that way, they are professionals in their own world, and they might have dealt with just too many professionals at this point. That day, Ji-hyuk tells his parents that he is not able to train properly because he has to spend so much time doing interviews, but his father becomes angry and says that it sounds like he is starting to make excuses. While thinking about it, Ji-hyuk remembers that a reporter earlier asks him why he keeps throwing only fastballs during games, and this makes him wonder if it is finally time for him to begin practicing breaking balls as well. Just then, Ji-hyuk gets a phone call from the same reporter, but before he can say much, his father quickly takes the phone from his hand and angrily questions the reporter about why he is so interested in his son's training. After the call ends, Ji-hyuk's father firmly tells him that if he ever receives calls from annoying people like that again, he must inform him right away no matter what. 1 year later, Ji-hyuk's mom and sister get really excited when they see his picture trending on the internet, and they even manage to find a fan cafe website made for him. His mom tells him that even though the cafe was created less than a month ago, the number of members has already grown really high. Ji-hyuk, however, feels completely shocked when he realizes that the person who made the fan cafe for him is actually his own father. He starts thinking that these days there are already so many reporters and scouts keeping an eye on him, and he already has a lot to worry about, like how to control his pitches and direct the ball perfectly during games. After taking a shower, Ji-hyuk tells his dad that he is going to sleep, but his dad simply tells him to go to bed early because he has trained the next day. At that moment, Ji-hyuk realizes that his father has been losing sleep lately and has not been able to work on his manuscript properly because he has been busy taking care of him ever since he became famous. Feeling concerned, Ji-hyuk then carefully asks his dad what he would think if he signed a contract with an agency. Ji-hyuk then talks to his dad and explains that after looking into it more, he realizes that if he signs a contract with an agency, they will regularly take care of his body and training, and also that getting the down payment from the contract could really help the family financially. His father tells him that he thinks Ji-hyuk is right, but it might still be a little too early, so he should think about it more seriously after entering high school. Ji-hyuk, however, wonders if it might be easier to sign with an agency earlier. He adds that after asking around, he found out that some agencies could even assign a personal coach for him. 1 week later, Ji-hyuk's father gives him a huge list of all the agencies he could find for Ji-hyuk. Looking at it, Ji-hyuk says it's just too much and asks if there is any particular agency his dad would recommend. His dad says that all of them are good, but if he had to pick two, these are the best options. One of them is TR Agency, which offers a 5-year contract with a down payment of 300 million won. This agency promises to provide a coach twice a week until Ji-hyuk graduates from high school, connect him with the best teams in America, and even provide an English teacher to help him adjust smoothly if he goes overseas. However, the condition is that he must join the overseas rookie draft market instead of the domestic one. Furthermore, the man explains that another agency is offering a contract that lasts for 5 years with a down payment of 100 million won, and they are willing to cooperate so that Ji-hyuk can choose which draft market he wants to enter, whether it is domestic or overseas. A few days later, Ji-hyuk and his father put on suits and get dressed up nicely to go meet the head of the agency for an important meeting. Ji-hyuk's father admits out loud that he feels anxious because this is an important decision about the future of his one and only son, and it turns out that the agency they are visiting is called YJ Agency. When they finally arrive at the building, one of the most beautiful girls who works at the agency comes to welcome them and greet them at the entrance, and both Ji-hyuk and his father feel so stunned and amazed by her appearance that they cannot stop staring at her with their eyes wide open. Meanwhile, the coach at YJ Agency, whose name is Sango, is already looking at and reviewing Ji-hyuk's game data and performance statistics, and he thinks to himself that his skills are really worth checking out. Just then, the girl comes over to tell Sango that Ji-hyuk and his father have arrived, so he gets ready and walks out to meet them. Ji-hyuk's father is immediately surprised to see Sango, but Ji-hyuk wonders why he's making such a big deal, so his dad lightly hits him and says that there isn't a single person who plays baseball who doesn't know Sango. He explains that Sango is the one who made many important changes in baseball, like allowing players to transfer freely, abolishing the service time system, and creating the rookie draft system. He also adds that Sango is the person who was able to secure his position in the major leagues with just one skill, which shows how talented and influential he is. After that, Sango turns to Ji-hyuk and asks why he only throws fastballs, and Ji-hyuk's father quickly answers for him, saying that it's because he always teaches Ji-hyuk at home about the importance of focusing on fastballs. The next day, Ji-hyuk's coach personally trains him and explains that no matter how powerful his fastballs are, pitching for long innings takes a lot of physical strength. He warns that if Ji-hyuk is not strong enough and throws the ball too hard, it could easily cause an injury. To prevent that, the coach tells him that he needs to build his stamina so he can avoid injuries before they happen. Later that day, Ji-hyuk continues running on his school ground when his old coach comes by, hands him an energy drink, and asks how things are going with the new agency he signed with. Ji-hyuk says that he already likes it, but deep down, he admits that they have been making him train twice as hard. Then the coach asks if he has made a decision about which high school he is going to attend. Ji-hyuk asks his dad if he should go to a high school that can barely compete in national competitions, saying it might be exciting to revive a team that's completely broken down. He then adds that he is probably going to attend Ilsik High School, which is well known for baseball and has produced many star players over the years. However, his coach tells him very clearly that if he wants to have even a little bit of room to relax at Ilsik High, which is full of incredible players with amazing skills, he must first participate in the middle school baseball tournament that is being held by the KBO next month and do well in it. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that it is finally time for someone to challenge his fastballs and test his abilities, and that is exactly why winning this tournament feels so important to him and means so much. He decides in his mind that he will throw the best fastball of his entire middle school career during this tournament, making absolutely sure that he performs at his absolute best level possible. During the tournament games, Ji-hyuk shows an incredible performance on the mound, throwing another fastball that allows not even an inch of error or mistake in its placement. The batters who face him struggle really hard to keep up with his perfect pitches, which are reaching speeds that are close to 140 km per hour, and he manages to strike out yet another batter who cannot connect with his pitches at all. The commentators say that if he keeps performing like this, they predict that Ji-hyuk leading Myeongseong Middle School to another victory will happen very soon. They also comment that relying on just one type of pitch might not be the best strategy, since many champions usually have at least two variations of pitches in their arsenal. At the same time, a man asks Sango if Ji-hyuk can only throw fastballs, but Sango replies that it was actually his own instruction for Ji-hyuk not to change and to keep focusing on throwing fastballs. In a flashback, Sango asks Ji-hyuk what he thinks about a breaking ball, and Ji-hyuk answers that a breaking ball can throw off the batter's timing. Sango explains that a breaking ball is a useful weapon for the pitcher because it makes pitching easier and gives the ball some leeway, acting as a payoff pitch to catch the batter off guard. He then tells Ji-hyuk that from now until he enters high school, he will not teach him anything about breaking balls at all, so he can focus entirely on mastering his fastballs. Back in the present, Ji-hyuk throws another fastball, striking out yet another batter, and with that final out, Myeongseong Middle School wins the KBO Middle School baseball competition. Soon, Ji-hyuk graduates from middle school and takes admission in Ilsik High, and anyone who plays baseball knows this prestigious baseball school. They have managed to produce number of big baseball stars, and currently, thanks to its fame, more and more potential talents are being recruited as students. While entering the school, Ji-hyuk finds a guy yelling at two boys, so he realizes that the rumors about Ilsik High baseball team having strict rules are true. Right at that moment, a young man walks up to Ji-hyuk once he recognizes who he is, and the young man goes ahead and introduces himself by telling Ji-hyuk that his name is Han-suk. The young man tells Ji-hyuk that he is seeing all kinds of well-known and famous people attending this particular school, and he also mentions that the orientation event that is specifically made for all of the new students is going to be starting very soon, which means that the two of them really should stick together. Ji-hyuk finds himself thinking whether this particular guy standing in front of him is actually the same Han-suk who has earned the reputation and ranking of being the #1 pitcher in the entire world of high school baseball, and he also starts to wonder and think about whether there happens to be a whole bunch of other students at this school who have similar impressive skills and abilities just like Han-suk does. Sometime later, when the orientation session officially begins, Han-suk stands up in front of the entire group of people on the team and takes the chance to introduce himself to all of the people who are sitting there, and he makes sure to tell everyone that he is actually serving as the team captain for their group. He goes ahead and tells all of the people sitting there that from this point forward, they should feel completely free and comfortable to come up to him and ask him any questions they might have about anything at all. Right after his introduction, everyone who is sitting there immediately starts having conversations and talking amongst themselves specifically about Han-suk, and they are saying that it has not been too long ago in the recent past when he manages to throw a fastball that reaches the incredibly impressive speed of 154 km per hour. Han-suk then asks everyone who signed with an agency to raise their hands and tells them that he will not stand anyone acting immaturely because they have an agency backing them up. Later, everyone gathers on the field for practice, and Ji-hyuk looks around and notices that the place has everything they need for training. He even spots a gym nearby and thinks that with this facility, he will finally be able to work on weight training, which is something he feels he has been lacking. A tall guy named Hyung-soo walks up and greets Ji-hyuk, and Ji-hyuk feels a little scared because of how tall and big he looks. Hyung-soo introduces himself by saying that he is a catcher and proudly shares that he hit 3 home runs just last year. After that, Hyung-soo loudly calls out another player named Ju-chun, but Ju-chun seems clearly annoyed and furious at him. Hyung-soo then explains to Ji-hyuk that Ju-chun is actually the pitcher who threw the balls during those 3 consecutive home runs. Ji-hyuk remembers hearing rumors about Ju-chun before, thinking that he used to be a pitcher at Baekseek Middle School and that he was unable to play in the semifinals because he was showing signs of an injury. After that, Ji-hyuk watches a guy with a large body step up to pitch, and everyone around him gets really surprised to see just how fast his pitching speed actually is. They start thinking to themselves that the pitcher position is already really tight as it is right now, but having to go up against and compete with a monster player like that guy is just completely insane and crazy. Ji-hyuk then starts thinking inside his head that just looking at the pitches with a quick glance is enough to tell him that his pitches are going at least 150 km per hour in speed. He keeps thinking further in his mind that they can all see and feel the pressure and intensity just from looking and watching from a distance, but actually having to be standing in the mound right there with him probably feels exactly like getting shot at with a bullet coming straight at you. However, when he looks more carefully, only 4 pitches out of his total 10 pitches are actually landing in the strike zone area, and he does not throw a single ball in the exact direction that the catcher orders him and tells him to throw it toward. Now, it is finally Ji-hyuk's turn for pitching, and before he can actually get himself to the ground, the fat guy with the large body from before walks up to him and tells him that he is really looking forward to seeing and watching his pitching performance. After that, Ji-hyuk throws his very first pitch, which ends up making everyone around him feel surprised and shocked because they start thinking to themselves that his pitches are going way too slow compared to what they expected from him. Ji-hyuk then keeps continuing to throw the ball in the exact direction that the catcher tells him and instructs him to throw it toward, and he thinks inside his head that he is very much different and not the same at all from that fatty guy who pitched earlier. The other people watching then start thinking and talking amongst themselves that Ji-hyuk was not only famous and well known for his fastballs and high speed, but he was also really famous and recognized for his accuracy and precision when throwing. The catcher then once again tells Ji-hyuk and instructs him to throw the ball in a certain specific direction, so Ji-hyuk does exactly what he is told to do, and his throw is incredibly accurate just like before. After the entire test finishes, the coach walks up and asks Ji-hyuk a question, and the reason that he is asking him this particular question is because Ji-hyuk is not throwing any fast balls at all during his pitching. Ji-hyuk realizes and understands in his mind that there is absolutely no need for him to throw a 140 km per hour fastball right now. Right at that moment, the fatty guy with the large body shows up once again and asks Ji-hyuk in a challenging tone how he could possibly be ranked as #1 with such a boring and unimpressive ball like that, and then he keeps continuing to provoke Ji-hyuk and try to get under his skin. Ji-hyuk then replies back to the fatty guy that he is feeling excited because he knows that he can pitch much faster than these people around them, and that there is not even a single coach anywhere who can actually train a pitcher who has such poor and terrible ball control like the fatty does. Later, it's the batting test and one of the blonde-haired guy proves himself to be the best. Next, it's Hyungsu's turn, and who swings amazingly that even makes Ji-hyuk realizes that this is what a true outstanding player really is. Seeing Hyungsu hit a home run, Ji-hyuk comes to a conclusion that Jong-seop is skilled as a pitcher and Hyungsu is skilled as a batter. The next day, Sang-go walks up and asks Ji-hyuk a question about what his strengths are as a pitcher, so Ji-hyuk tells him and explains that his main strengths are his steady pitching form and his stable posture when he is throwing the ball. The coach tells him and confirms that he is absolutely right about that, because a powerful fastball that can be thrown successfully thanks to his smooth and steady form is definitely not an easy thing to pull off and accomplish, and the reason for this is because most players do not really care about their form at all as long as they are able to increase their speed and throw faster. He keeps talking further and says that these players are putting their body through really great torture and serious strain, and this is exactly why so many pitchers end up getting injured. Yet they are still completely obsessed with throwing fastballs all the time because it has become such a strong habit for them. Moreover, the coach tells Ji-hyuk and informs him that he is going to teach him a special kind of breaking ball today, and the pitch that he is going to teach him is called the power curve pitch. He takes time to explain that the reason he is specifically teaching him the power curve pitch right now is because Ji-hyuk is still growing and developing his body, and he truly believes that this particular pitch is going to be much less burdensome and easier on his arm than other pitches would be. He then adds that the most ideal fastball and curve speed is around 20 miles, but that's in the case of a normal curve, and the power curve has a difference of about 15 miles. The coach also tells Ji-hyuk that just because he learns how to throw a curveball does not mean he can force a strikeout with it. He explains that the pitch Ji-hyuk should trust the most must always be his fastball, and that fastball needs to stay strong and powerful, especially since batters will be more careful and alert when they expect a curveball. The coach then says that it might even be possible for Ji-hyuk to throw a rising fastball one day, which is a pitch that looks like it suddenly hops upward and then rushes toward the batter with heavy backspin, and it is the ultimate fastball he has always dreamed of mastering. However, there was a time when Ji-hyuk wanted to throw that rising fastball so badly that he kept trying again and again to increase the speed of his backspin, but no matter how hard he worked, he never truly succeeded and only ended up making his normal fastball faster. After that, Ji-hyuk continues practicing the new pitch, and soon his father comes to join them on the field. His father asks the coach what the main principle behind this kind of pitch is, and the coach explains that the strength of the middle finger and index finger is very important in making the ball spin the right way. Later that day, Ji-hyuk's sister asks him if he wants to watch a movie with her, but Ji-hyuk makes excuses and says he is too busy. She then says that she cannot watch it with anyone else because her boyfriend is busy, and hearing that makes Ji-hyuk suddenly angry as he questions what kind of young kid already has a boyfriend. The next day, Ji-hyuk throws some really insane and impressive pitches in his new school, and the coaches who are watching the game think to themselves that it is incredible to see how the first-year students are ahead by 5 whole points against the second-year students when this is their very first time playing together as a team. The catcher then gives a specific signal to Ji-hyuk that tells him to throw a narrow ball that is aimed away from the batter's body, so Ji-hyuk throws the ball exactly how the catcher wants him to throw it, and the pitch ends up getting called as a strike by the umpire. The match then keeps continuing, and Ji-hyuk starts to realize that Hyungsu is also struggling quite a lot to give proper directions and clear signals because he is feeling really flustered right now. After a short moment passes, Hyungsu manages to give a clear signal that indicates and shows that he wants Ji-hyuk to throw a strikeout pitch to end this at-bat. Hearing that, Ji-hyuk throws a straight ball that goes perfectly into Hyungsu's gloves, and with that single pitch the batter gets completely striked out. Ji-hyuk then realizes and understands in his mind that this situation is totally different and not the same at all from what they were doing earlier in the game, and he starts to wonder and think about whether they were actually going easy on them and holding back their real skills. The coach then tells Ji-hyuk and warns him that these opponents are definitely not easy to beat at all, so if he lets his guard down even a little bit, he is definitely going to get caught up in their pace and rhythm of playing. The match then keeps continuing and moving forward, and everyone watching starts thinking and believing that Ji-hyuk is getting really tired and exhausted since he has already thrown the ball 8 times by now, and he has also been keeping the game completely scoreless for the past 5 full innings of play. At the same time, Ji-hyuk thinks to himself inside his own head that since the total number of pitches he has thrown during this game has increased so much by this point, it is now becoming much easier for him to feel and sense the limits of his body and physical condition, and he can very clearly notice his strength and stamina starting to run low and fade away. Even so, and despite feeling tired, he throws another ball with all the energy he has left, and the batter, who was starting to think in his mind that he was getting used to the speed of the pitches, ends up getting out and eliminated from his turn at bat. After that moment passes, one player walks up and tells the next batter not to go too hard on them or be too rough since it is only a practice game against first-year students who are still new, but the next batter says back to him that he still wants to teach them a proper lesson that they will remember. Ji-hyuk notices and observes that this particular batter is very big in size and looks even larger and more intimidating than Hyung-soo does when standing next to him. He very carefully throws a fastball with as much control as he can manage, but the batter connects with it perfectly and hits it with great power, and the ball flies out and away for a home run that clears the field completely. Right at that moment, the coach walks over and tells Ji-hyuk that he did well enough to last until the 5th inning of the game, but Ji-hyuk feels very disappointed and unhappy inside with his performance at all. The second pitcher also starts struggling, so the coach decides to send Jong-seep, but everyone trash talks about him, saying he is so rude. Jong-seep then throws his first ball that goes out of control, but when he throws another ball, everyone starts talking about how he can't control the ball and what's the point of being able to throw a speedy ball if he can't even control it. Ji-hyuk thought in his mind that Jong-seep was just a lazy player who did not try very hard, but now he knows and understands how to look like that on purpose, and he wonders and thinks about whether Jong-seep is trying to say that he can do really well when he actually tries and puts in effort. Jong-seep then throws another ball that unexpectedly and suddenly hits the batter's head with force, and the batter falls down on the ground hard after getting hit. Soon after the incident, the ambulance arrives at the field, and the medical worker informs the coach and tells him that there is no apparent injury that they can see right now, but the batter has a real possibility of having a concussion from the impact, and it seems like he will definitely need a more thorough examination at the hospital to check for serious damage. The senior player then gets really furious at Jong-seep for what he did, but the coach steps in and tells all of them that if they decide to fight right now, he absolutely cannot turn a blind eye to it, and he reminds them that they are a team that needs to keep up with each other and support one another in the future, so if they have bad feelings towards each other, it will definitely reveal itself in actual games. He then tells the senior player to calm down starting from now, since it seems like Hyojin only has a minor concussion and nothing too serious, and as for Jong-seep, he should come with the coach to the hospital right away, so he can properly apologize to Hyojin for what happened. The senior player then tells all of the first-year students that they are going to face a group disciplinary punishment as soon as Hyojin's test results come back from the hospital, and he specifically warns Jong-seep that he should be very careful from now on with his actions. Ji-hyuk thinks inside his head that the ball that hit the batter was actually what people call a dead ball, and it first got its name after an incident where a player got hit by a ball during a game and died from the injury. He keeps thinking further in his mind that the ball that Jong-seep threw at the batter was going at 150 km per hour in speed, and even if the concussion itself gets better and heals over time, it will still be really hard to avoid the after effects and lasting damage that come from being hit that hard. The next day, the senior player gives a punishment to all of the first-year students and forces them to do sit-ups as a form of discipline for what happened. Right at that moment, another senior shows up at the field and tells the guy to stop bothering the first-year students now and leave them alone, and he tells all of the second-year students to take a small break and clean up all of the equipment that is lying around. Later on, a boy walks up and asks Ji-hyuk if he has heard about senior Han-suk winning the high school baseball MVP award this year, and how he was called the ultimate player in high school baseball and proudly ranked first in the overall ranking of all high school pitchers in the country. However, Ji-hyuk thinks in his mind that Han-suk has a power ball that is so overwhelming and impressive that it was really hard to believe it was actually thrown by a high school student and not a professional player with years of experience. Later at Ji-hyuk's house, Ji-hyuk and Sang-go are practicing baseball together in the yard when Sang-go asks Ji-hyuk a question about what he thinks is Han-suk's biggest weakness as a pitcher. Ji-hyuk replies back to him and says that Han-suk has an overwhelming power ball that really does not look like it was thrown by a high schooler at all, and he is completely sure that Han-suk knows how to use sliders and changeups in a variety of different ways to trick batters. After hearing that response, the coach says back to Ji-hyuk that he is absolutely right about his observation because Han-suk's skills are so extraordinary and amazing that he can immediately be recognized and noticed by professional scouts and coaches, but Han-suk still has to improve and work on his ball control to become even better. However, when the coach says that if Han-suk does not improve his control, he will not even be able to last a single year as a professional player in Korea, Ji-hyuk feels truly shocked. The coach explains that for a 19-year-old high school student, Han-suk's ball control is not bad at all right now, but professional baseball is very different from high school games. He says that if Han-suk does not improve both his ball power and his control, he will not be able to compete against experienced hitters who have been playing at the professional level for years. Hearing this, Ji-hyuk starts to wonder how someone like Han-suk, who has never lost his top position in high school, could still have such clear limits. The coach then asks Ji-hyuk if he feels surprised by what he just heard from him, and he says that Ji-hyuk probably never imagined that a player like Han-suk would face such serious limits once he steps into the professional field and plays against real professionals. Lastly, the coach reminds Ji-hyuk and tells him that he is a much better pitcher than Han-suk was when he graduated from middle school and first entered Ilsik High School to start his high school career. However, Ji-hyuk thinks inside his own mind that before he starts to compare himself to others and worry about them, he should work harder and do his very best to refine the control of his power curve pitch that he is currently learning from the coach. At the same exact time, Ji-hyuk's younger sister is watching him practice in the yard and asks her dad if they were able to move here to this new place thanks to Sango helping them out, so her dad explains to her and tells her that they moved into a house that was provided by the agency, and it comes with a yard that is filled with a bunch of different equipment for practice. The next day, Hyung-soo and Ji-hyuk are training together at the gym, and Hyung-soo overtrains himself way too much, and now he cannot even stand up properly because his legs are shaking so much from exhaustion. But Ji-hyuk tells him that if he cannot even get through the training that every single player in Ilsik does on a regular basis, he should not dream of becoming a main player on the team. Ji-hyuk tells him that they should work really hard for the school to think they are useful enough and skilled enough to join the starting lineup and play in actual games. Ji-hyuk further says to him that there are only a few schools with good facilities like this one in the entire country, so he should be really thankful for what he has and work even harder to make the most of it. He also reminds Hyung-soo that not only is the equipment really good here, but he is also provided with 4 different coaches, with one coach for each position on the field to help him improve. Later during the match, Hyung-soo shows amazing performance and plays incredibly well, which makes the opponent team feel worried and nervous, and their players wonder and ask themselves how they ended up playing against a national level team like that when they thought it would be much easier to beat them. On the other hand, the coaches also talk amongst themselves about how Gwanghan High cannot dare to be a match for them and compete at their level, and how the first-year student Hyung-soo showed great performance even after coming up to high school from middle school. Gwanghan High's coach then adds up and says that he is really jealous of Ilsik High for recruiting players like that who are so talented, but Ilsik's coach tries to tell him back that he also has good players in his team who are skilled. Hyung-soo then suggests to Ji-hyuk that he should try hitting the ball as well and practice batting with the team, but Ji-hyuk asks him back and questions why he should hit the ball too when they already have a designated hitter on the team who does that specific job for them. Ji-hyuk also says to him that there are a lot of people who are more motivated and better at pitching than him right now, so he should do well and focus on what he does best. After hearing that response, Hyung-soo says back that it is boring to only focus on one thing because after going through a lot of psychological warfare with the pitcher. So, he thinks that seeing how the pitcher throws the ball toward you, being able to hit a ball that goes into the strike zone is a feeling that someone cannot forget if they try hitting it even once in their life. Ji-hyuk replies back to him that the feeling he talked about is the same exact feeling that a pitcher gets when they throw a perfect pitch, but Hyung-soo tells him to be nervous and prepared because he is going to hit his ball over the fence one day in the future. At that moment, the coach walks over and tells Ji-hyuk to start getting warmed up and ready for his turn to pitch. After that, Ji-hyuk steps into position on the mound and the catcher tells him that even if they lose a point, he will make sure to hit later and make up for it. Ji-hyuk then throws his first fastball, which reaches nearly 142 km per hour, surprising the other team's coach, who thinks that Ji-hyuk's level of control and calmness is not normal for a high school freshman. The coach also starts to think that maybe this year's Ilsik High pitchers have strong defensive skills right from their first year. As the match continues, Ji-hyuk looks at the batter standing at the plate and thinks that he must be a sophomore because his smooth base running skills make it easy to guess his experience. However, he then notices that the batter is using an open stance, which shows that he plans to swing hard and try to hit the ball no matter what happens. Ji-hyuk then throws another ball at the batter that the batter could not hit at all, and it gets called as a strike by the umpire watching closely. The catcher then gives a signal to Ji-hyuk to throw the next pitch even deeper into the zone, but Ji-hyuk realizes and understands that what the catcher actually wants is for him to throw it more towards the batter's body to crowd him. Ji-hyuk knows that this signal means that the catcher trusts him enough to throw it more towards his body without hitting him, but it probably will not work very well with a batter like him who is experienced, and then Ji-hyuk throws the ball even more towards the body than the catcher asked for or expected. Ji-hyuk then realizes right away that the ball going that far inside was not on purpose or intentional at all, but thanks to Hyung-soo's surprised expression, the opposing batter will probably think that Ji-hyuk is really bad at controlling the ball and where it goes. Hyungsoo notices and sees that the batter has moved his feet more towards the outside of the batter's box, and he thinks to himself that it would be really weird if the batter was not scared of an uncontrollable ball that is thrown so close to his body like that. However, Ji-hyuk thinks in his own mind that he does not want to throw the ball towards the outside of the strike zone, since it is unfair if the batter cannot even reach the ball or have a chance to hit it properly. Hyungsoo understands now that it is not that Ji-hyuk could not control the ball earlier like everyone thought, but he sure has a lot of self-esteem and confidence, even though he pretends like he does not have any at all. After that moment, Ji-hyuk throws an insane ball at 146 km/h in speed that shocks everyone watching the game. The other team's coach thinks that Ji-hyuk has got better control than anyone else he has seen, and he also has a super fastball that is hard to hit. Now, there are 2 strikes and 2 balls, which is a pretty bad situation for the batter, and Ji-hyuk doesn't know what to do anymore. Hyungsoo thinks that when someone is not sure if they are out of the zone or not during a pitch, they usually use a curveball to be safe, but if they boldly narrow down the strike zone and throw with confidence, it can become a base on balls and give the batter a free walk. He further wonders in his mind that if it becomes a full count situation, just as the opponent can predict the pitcher's thoughts and what pitch is coming, he can also see and tell how comfortable the batter is feeling right now at the plate. Hyungsoo then quickly asks for a timeout from the umpire, and during the timeout when they can talk, Hyungsoo asks Ji-hyuk if that signal he gave was the sign of a power curve pitch, and asks if he really knows how to throw a power curve properly and accurately. Ji-hyuk replies back to him that he would not give a sign for a ball that he cannot throw well, and he asks why Hyungsoo has become so timid and nervous, since it is not like he does not trust his ball control abilities at all. Before leaving, Hyungsoo tells him that a pitcher is not supposed to ease the catcher's mind and make them feel better, and now his pride is hurt and damaged from what Ji-hyuk said. The match then continues, and Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that his ball control is now in a stable position thanks to 7 whole months of hard training and practice, but his heart is beating like crazy right now, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that, since this is the first time he is throwing this pitch in a real match against an opponent. Ji-hyuk then throws a curveball towards the plate that the batter tries to hit with his bat, but he ended up missing it completely and gets struck out to end his at-bat. After seeing that happen, the coach gets nervous and worried, and he wonders to himself why Ji-hyuk is throwing that particular pitch when it is the first time he is using that ball in a real game situation. He also thinks to himself that based on the way the ball curves upward and the angle at which it drops within that speed range, it is actually a very solid power curve pitch, and it seems good enough to be used in an official game instead of only in a practice match like this one. After the inning ends, Ji-hyuk tells the coach that he has been learning the power curve from his personal coach at home, and the coach says it feels refreshing to see how well he is already throwing it after such a short time of training. Then another batter steps up to the plate and thinks about how Ji-hyuk first became famous back in middle school and how he is now even mixing different pitches, but before he can adjust, Ji-hyuk throws another sharp ball and strikes him out. On that day, during a friendly match against Gwanghan High, Ji-hyuk delivers an impressive performance with 12 strikeouts in just 4 innings, while allowing only 1 hit and 1 walk. The coach gathers everyone together and gives feedback to the team, starting with Ji-hyuk and his performance. He tells him directly that he set an example for players on the same team with his excellent play of 12 strikeouts in 4 innings pitched, and his first curveball was very good and showed great potential. The coach then scolds others on the team harshly, saying that they all better be prepared to die during the winter's training and work harder than ever, otherwise they might see a second-year ace from Ilsuk High for the first time in 20 years next year taking their spots. Later after the meeting, Hyungsoo tells Ji-hyuk confidently that he is going to take over the mound as the ace pitcher of the team, while he himself will be the main catcher who catches all his games. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that Hyungsoo is right about his own abilities, because Hyungsoo's skills are much better than the second-year students on the team, and even the high school coaches covet and admire the sharp observation skills he has compared to his seniors who are older. Ji-hyuk then asks him directly if he is confident that he is going to do something special for him if he becomes his main catcher on the field. Later at home with his family, Ji-hyuk's little sister asks her dad to take her to a park this winter break for some fun, and then her mom also joins the conversation and agrees, saying that they used to travel a lot before Ji-hyuk started his baseball career and everything changed. However, Ji-hyuk tells them that they should go to Jeju Island instead for their vacation, but Jaya does not want to go there because there is no ski park there for her to enjoy and have fun at. The next day, a greenhouse is installed on Ji-hyuk's house property, and his younger sister cannot believe that they now live in a house that has a greenhouse attached to it like some kind of farm. In a flashback to an earlier conversation, Sango tells Ji-hyuk's dad that a greenhouse is necessary for their training setup because it is winter now and the weather is cold, and Ji-hyuk has to practice in the yard without putting too much pressure on the body or risking injury from the cold. After hearing that conversation, Ji-hyuk's younger sister barges into his room without knocking and asks him if he heard that they are putting a greenhouse in the yard of their home. However, Ji-hyuk asks her back what is wrong with putting a greenhouse there since it is useful, but this response makes his sister nervous with him. Back in the present time, Ji-hyuk's sister thinks to herself that she could never bring a friend to this house ever again because it would be too embarrassing with the greenhouse. Elsewhere at another location, Sango asks Ji-hyuk to tell him if he wants to learn something new next year to add to his pitching, so Ji-hyuk replies back that he wants to learn how to throw a cutter pitch effectively. Sango tells him that it's an easy to learn but difficult to master style, but it's a ball that can make his fastball even more powerful. However, Ji-hyuk asks him what's the difference in speed between a cutter and a fastball, so Sango says that the difference is of 3 miles. Sango further tells him to be careful as the changes in his body will have a significant impact on his pitch style, ball power and ball control, and because of that, rather than learning how to throw every kind of ball, he must completely master 1 or 2 types of balls. Later that day, Hyung-soo takes shower and gets fresh, but he notices Ji-hyuk still training while being all sad about it, so he asks him how he is still working out after all that terrible training. Ji-hyuk replies back that he is still doing all that training and work because he is now used to it and it has become part of his routine. Hyung-soo then asks him if he heard the news that Jong-seep is Coach Haeyoung's nephew and that is how he managed to get into the baseball team even though he is not well known or highly ranked. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that it is still not like Jong-seep is unskilled or talentless, because it is actually uncommon for players to have that kind of natural talent and physical tools that he possesses. Hyung-soo then adds more information that Jong-seep was always talking behind the seniors' backs and looking down on them with disrespect, and Coach Jung worked hard to get him to fit in with the other members and be part of the team, but even that effort was useless and did not work. He then asks Ji-hyuk if he saw Coach Jung's face when Jong-seep left training early that one day without permission. Ji-hyuk then takes off his shirt and goes to take a shower while thinking to himself that Sango told him that if he wants to increase the power of his ball and velocity, he needs to gain about 3 to 4 kilograms of muscle mass. The next day, the coach gathers everyone and he realizes that Jong-seep is actually missing. Before leaving, he tells everyone if there's anything missing, since they won't be able to get it back later if they forget. However, the other students wonder if it's possible Jong-seep might be expelled from the baseball team because of this incident. After that, the coach asks Ji-hyuk if his parents were here as well, so Ji-hyuk says that they have been touring around Jeju for the past week now. The coach then tells him not to sorry about anything and don't get involved in any accident or cause a scene. After that, Ji-hyuk visits the resort on the riverside of Jeju Island where his family. Ji-hyuk then runs into his father who tells him that everyone is ready to head out and check the surrounding areas. Ji-hyuk then enters the resort to find it super clean and comfortable, but he then asks his dad how he was able to convince Jaya when she was stubborn in not coming. Ji-hyuk's dad reveals that he promised her that he would buy her newest phone model if she came. Ji-hyuk's mom then asks him if he was able to look around, but he tells her that he couldn't because all he did was train, so she tells him that at Seulbong Peak, there's the Sieonam Bridge and so many other cool places. She then tells everyone that since Ji-hyuk is here, there are so many nice places they can go, to which Ji-hyuk also agrees. After that, Ji-hyuk and his family goes out to different places and spend their time together. 4 days later, Ji-hyuk and his family are sitting at the cafe, talking about their time in the Jeju Island. Ji-hyuk's mom says that there are still so many nice places to visit. After that, Ji-hyuk and his family walks through the street where Ji-hyuk hears a familiar voice, but when he turns around, he finds Jong-seep and the other boys smoking. Seeing that, Ji-hyuk gets furious at Jong-seep because he was missing the entire time during important team activities, and now he is here spending his time smoking during training instead of working hard. Right at that moment, Hyung-soo appears out of nowhere and tries to confront Jong-seep physically, but instead he gets all bruised up and hurt in the confrontation. Ji-hyuk then tells his family members who are with him that they should keep walking forward, because looking towards those boys fighting is not going to be worth their time or attention. Later at lunchtime in the cafeteria, Ji-hyuk asks Hyung-soo how he was able to eat 3 full servings in one go without getting full, but Hyung-soo shows off his muscles proudly and flexes them, saying that everything he eats turns into precious muscles that make him stronger. Right at that moment, a junior student arrives at their table and says excitedly that he is a huge fan of Ji-hyuk and his pitching, but Hyung-soo gets jealous immediately and tries to introduce himself to the boy, to which the boy says that he had no idea who Hyung-soo even is at all. The boy then introduces himself politely as Go Gukjin, and Hyung-soo says back that he is the one who ranked first in the middle school pitching category last year in the entire region. Ji-hyuk then tells the guy that his arms look quite long and impressive, so the guy tells him back that this is what everyone always tells him when they see him. However, Ji-hyuk also notices and sees that his fingers are long as well, which means that if he can sharpen his skills and work on his technique, he has every condition and physical trait needed to excel at baseball at a high level, and if he has a good balance and release point when throwing, Ji-hyuk is sure that the talent this guy can show them is going to be incredible and amazing. Ji-hyuk wonders to himself inside his own mind that Jong-seep has good features and natural talent that many players would want, but it would be really good if he takes care of his elbows and shoulders properly for improvement and injury prevention in the long run. Right at that moment, Jong-seep shows up out of nowhere and starts provoking Ji-hyuk on purpose, saying that he is the only rank 1 pitcher in name only and he did not work on his shoulders at all during training. Ji-hyuk then tries to ignore him completely and walk away from the confrontation, but Jong-seep gets furious and angry, and tells him not to ignore him like he is nobody. Jong-seep then grabs Ji-hyuk's arm tightly and tries to push him back aggressively, but Ji-hyuk gets angry in response and holds his arm tightly, which makes Jong-seep feel pain and leave the area. Ji-hyuk then tells Hyung-soo and the other guy to leave as well and not go telling this incident to the coach or any other authority. Later at the field during practice, the coach tells Ji-hyuk to go to the field first for practice and warm up, and tells everyone gathered there that there is no reason to complain about the decision, because out of the 3 third-year pitchers they have, 2 of them are injured and cannot play, and one of them lost 13 points during his last game, so it is hard to start him again in terms of players or strategies for the team. Hearing that, everyone then starts thinking that Ji-hyuk is once again the best out of all of them and they don't have any complaints if it's Ji-hyuk out of the other second years, but then, the coach says that as for catcher they are going for Hwang Chane instead of Hong-soo. The coach then tells Ji-hyuk to get to know Hwang Chane before the match starts and introduces everyone to the lineup for the 78th Golden Lion Finals tournament. Hyung-soo then starts crying at Ji-hyuk's feet dramatically, saying that he already has him as his partner and catcher, but Ji-hyuk says back to him that he was not the one who made the lineup, so he can go to the coach and ask him about it before he blames Ji-hyuk for the decision. Right at that moment, another catcher shows up and walks over and tells Ji-hyuk to work with him from now on instead, since they do not have enough time to waste on arguing. The catcher further tells Ji-hyuk to get rid of Hyung-soo and send him away before coming to practice and warming up together. Very soon after that, the 78th Golden Lion Finals tournament begins with great energy, and everyone in the crowd is excited to see Ji-hyuk's pitches and watch him perform on the big stage. After that, Ji-hyuk manages to strike out Jin Young-hae's batters one after another, and Ji-hyuk is actually forcing Jin Young-hae's batters into swinging strikes one by one, not allowing a single base runner and striking them all out. Sango and Ji-hyuk's family also arrives at the stadium to watch the match, but turns out Sango got late, so he asks Ji-hyuk's dad about his condition today, but Ji-hyuk's father tells him to just watch him perform. At the bottom of the 4th inning, Jin Young-hae hasn't even managed to get on base and there are already 2 outs. Jin Young-hae's batting order has gone through a full rotation, but the chances of breaking through his ironclad pitching seem slim to none. This inning then also ends with 3 consecutive strikeouts and the game moves to the top of the 5th inning, so everyone wonders if Ji-hyuk's perfect game will continue or not. On the other hand, the commentator talks and discusses about how after checking the historical player records and looking back through the years, it has been 21 years since Il-suk-hae last started a second-year pitcher in an official game like this, and now Ji-hyuk's 12 consecutive strikeouts is going to go down in history as an incredible achievement for such a young player. Now, the game moves to Jin Young-hae's defense turn, and if they do not stop Il-suk-hae with their defense, it could become a very dangerous situation for their entire team and their chances of winning. The coach then walks over and tells Ji-hyuk that he is pitching really well today too, just like he has been throughout the tournament, and the game situation is good and in their favor right now, so he should not overexert himself or push his body too hard unnecessarily. However, Ji-hyuk thinks inside his own mind that even though the coach said not to feel burdened by the pressure from everyone, he does not want to let anyone down at all. It turns out that it might be disrespectful to the seniors if he takes all the attention and glory, but assuming the worst-case scenario for defense if something goes wrong, today his quality of pitches is better than he expected them to be. Ji-hyuk then walks up to the catcher on the field and asks him directly if he could confirm if this is the correct sign for a cutter pitch. Ji-hyuk then says to the catcher that he is still learning the pitch and his control is not as good as it is with the power curve pitch, but the catcher says back to him that he does not need to ask about it because he has no intention of missing his pitch or letting it get past him. After that conversation, the catcher explains to Ji-hyuk very clearly that he should not throw anything that could possibly be hit over the fence even by mistake or accident. The match then continues to move forward and a batter with quite a good build and strong body comes up to the mound to bat, so Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that this guy is a typical power hitter who relies on strength. The catcher then gives a signal for an inside fastball to crowd the batter, but Ji-hyuk wants to throw a cutter pitch no matter what happens or what the catcher suggests. The catcher realizes and understands that Ji-hyuk is planning to use the cutter pitch against this batter who is a bit simpler and less strategic compared to the more strategic hitters they faced before, and the timing itself is not bad for trying it out. Ji-hyuk then throws that ball with confidence, but it unexpectedly hits the batter's knee hard and causes him pain. Ji-hyuk's dad then asks Sang-go with concern if the Jin Young-hae batter will be alright after getting hit, so Sang-go replies back to him that he should be fine since he was not directly hit by the pitched ball in a dangerous spot. Now, the game resumes and continues with the Jin Young-hae batter taking his stance at the plate with a painful expression on his face. It turns out that the pain is preventing his body from keeping up with his mind and what he wants to do, and due to the injury he suffered, he is not showing his usual sharpness and skill at the plate. Ji-hyuk then wonders to himself if the power curve is his most powerful pitch yet, because no batter has been able to hit it successfully yet in any game, and the look on Jin Young's face also shows clearly that he is determined to hit his pitch somehow no matter what. After that moment, Ji-hyuk throws another ball with all his focus, and that pitch gets the batter to strike out completely, and it is now 13 consecutive strikeouts for Ji-hyuk in this game. At the same time, Jin Young's coach does not look so happy at all with how things are going, and he needs to break Ji-hyuk's perfect game somehow before it is too late. The commentator then adds and says that Jin Young-hae is in a very dangerous position now with the score so lopsided, and they must feel like they are on the edge of a cliff with no way out, and according to the mercy rule in baseball, if there is a 10-run difference by the 5th inning, the game ends immediately. Jin Young-hae then decides to change their batter and make a substitution, and the substituted player is Kwang-yoon, who is a first-year student at their school. The commentator asks why they would send a first-year player in this critical moment of the championship game when so much is on the line and the game matters so much. But the other guy says back and explains that Jin Young-hae's goal is to somehow break Ji-hyuk's perfect game and get on base no matter what it takes to do so. However, Ji-hyuk gets nervous and thinks inside his mind that he cannot give up the perfect game after coming this far in the tournament, and the fielders behind him must be feeling as tense as he is right now. The batter then quickly takes a bunt stance that surprises everyone watching and playing, and the pitchers think to themselves that until now, Ji-hyuk has been throwing inside pitches so hard and fast that they could not even try to bunt them successfully. After that moment, Ji-hyuk throws a fastball right at him, and the batter quickly loses his composure and gets straight up scared, but despite that fear he gets back to his stance and tries to focus again. After that moment, Jin Young's coach yells at the batter loudly to get closer to the plate and just not chicken out of the field like a coward. The batter is extremely scared and nervous, and wonders inside his head how he is supposed to hit that blazing fast inside pitch that comes at him, and wonders if Ji-hyuk is really a high school sophomore and not older. He thinks to himself that not only is Ji-hyuk the ace pitcher on the team, outperforming all the Ilsik High seniors who are older than him, but he is completely dominating their school's upperclassmen batters with ease. Ji-hyuk then throws the fastball once again with full power and speed, and this time the batter tries his best to make contact, but his bunt fails completely and the ball gets to the catcher behind the plate. The commentator gets surprised and thinks out loud that it is not an out yet because the ball slipped under the mitt and is on the ground. The batter then throws his bat down quickly and runs with everything he has got toward first base as fast as possible, but then the fielder quickly grabs the dropped ball and fires it to first base with all his strength to get the out. Surprisingly, the ball and the batter reach the home plate at the same exact time, so Jin Young-hae's coach immediately requests for a video review to check the call. The umpire then announces after reviewing the play that it is an out, and the score remains 9-0 in favor of Ilsik High, and now the game moves to the bottom of the 6th inning with Ilsik High at bat and on offense. The catcher then asks Ji-hyuk a question about how many sophomores can pitch like him and perform at his level, because he pitches so well and impressively for his age. Very soon after that game, Ji-hyuk's start in high school baseball comes to an end for this tournament, and Ji-hyuk manages to win this match as well with great performance, but no one in the media focused on his team and their victory, and instead all the attention was on him and his individual achievements. The next day, Ji-hyuk meets up with YJ Agency's CEO in person, and the CEO asks Ji-hyuk how he feels when all the sports media outlets are focused on him and his performance. He also tells Ji-hyuk directly that there has been some controversy and debate going on, but he does not need to worry about that at all because this is an issue for the adults to handle and take care of, and they do not want him getting stressed out and having it affect his physical condition negatively. The CEO further tells Ji-hyuk that they are looking forward to seeing his great pitching at next month's Blue Dragon Flag tournament with high expectations, and they are even getting non-stop inquiries from various media outlets who want to interview him and cover his story. The CEO also reminds Ji-hyuk very clearly that a player's value is created by himself and it is not created by others, and he might feel pressured by irresponsible comments and others' gazes watching him. Ji-hyuk tells him back that the Blue Dragon Flag tournament is a stage for the third-year seniors to shine, and the Golden Lion flag was a bit special this time around with unusual circumstances, and the choice is up to the coach to decide who plays, so he cannot guarantee that he will be on the mound for the Blue Dragon Flag at all. Moreover, the CEO says to Ji-hyuk that he actually prefers if Ji-hyuk does not play many games during the tournament, because what is important is the impression he makes on scouts, and scouts already have no doubts about his skills and information after what they have seen, and they can see enough of his abilities from the video footage that their agency provides to them. In the end, the CEO asks Ji-hyuk an important question about whether for next year's draft he is planning for the domestic market, but Ji-hyuk replies honestly that he still needs to think about it more and make a careful decision. Later that day, Hyung-soo reads some articles about Ji-hyuk that are circulating online on various websites and says out loud that Ji-hyuk has become a celebrity now with all this attention. However, Ji-hyuk replies that the spotlight should have been on the third year more than him, as this time, he was really pushed onto the mound against his will. Hyung-soo then tells him to tell the truth that he is slacking off because there is nothing to gain from this tournament, but deep down Ji-hyuk knows that it's something related to that. Hyung-soo further asks Ji-hyuk if the coach is going to announce the tournament lineup today, and the starter could be Il-suk Hai's second ace among second years, after all. In addition to that, Hyung-soo says that there is a problem with him, and that is once he loses his rhythm, it's hard for him to recover. Later that day, everyone gathers at the field where the coach is going to announce this week's starting pitcher for the tournament. He then reveals that the starter for this game will be Jong-seep. That surprises everyone. After hearing that news from Hyung-soo, Ji-hyuk realizes and understands clearly that Jong-seep has been seen at the field quite often lately and putting in work, and his form has improved a lot from doing long toss practice sessions with Coach Haeyoung regularly and consistently. Hyung-soo wonders out loud what has gotten to the coach for even choosing someone like Jong-seep as the starter for this important game when there are other options, but Ji-hyuk replies back thoughtfully that even the soft-hearted player Juchgun himself must have expected to be the starter this time around based on his recent performance and track record. The coach then tries to explain to Juchgun carefully and with care that he will have to pitch without rest next year when all the seniors graduate and leave the team, but he is different from Jong-seep in terms of development timeline. However, for Jong-seep specifically, he thinks of this game as a kind of final test to prove himself and show what he can do under pressure. However, Ji-hyuk wonders inside his mind that if Jong-seep does not pass this test and perform well, next year is going to be really tough for Jong-seep and his confidence, and it is still uncertain how Jong-seep will take this pressure and overcome it mentally. Jong-seep then tries to provoke Ji-hyuk again with his words and attitude, but Ji-hyuk ignores him like usual and does not respond, and that makes Jong-seep furious at being dismissed. The next day, Jong-seep throws an incredibly fast pitch at the match that surprises others who are watching and playing. Two boys start talking amongst themselves about how he is so fast with his pitches, and his control has gotten better than it was before. Jong-seep then throws another pitch which does not seem to be properly controlled by him based on its movement, so Ji-hyuk wonders and thinks that he is still unable to control it perfectly and needs more practice. Now, another batter enters the mound area to take his turn at bat, and Jong-seep gets ready to throw his next pitch, but Ji-hyuk thinks and notices that his stamina has completely dropped down by this point, which means that if he throws now without rest, it will be dangerous for the batter facing him. Despite that clear danger, Jong-seep manages to throw an incredibly powerful pitch that does not hit the bat at all, but instead it hits the batter's head with force, and the batter falls down on the ground hard after getting hit. After playing the match, the team goes back on the bus together, and on their way back to school, the coach receives a phone call from the hospital with urgent news. The person on the phone tells him something that makes him shocked and disturbed, so everyone on the bus gets even more curious on what happened with that player who was injured. The coach then informs everyone on the bus that the student who was taken away after getting hit by a dead ball during today's game has died on his way towards the hospital from his injuries, and he also got a call from the school saying that their Il-suk baseball team has been advised to withdraw from this tournament immediately. After that terrible incident happened, Jong-seep disappeared from the school completely and stopped showing up, and it was not long before they all found out that he had dropped out of school entirely, and even the coach Young Haeyoung who had recommended Jong-seep's admission to the school also left the school and quit his position. Ji-hyuk is now a high school senior in his final year, and one morning before class, a reporter from CBC Broadcasting Company approaches him on the street, saying that he wanted to have a conversation with him about something important. Ji-hyuk gets quite surprised and wonders inside his head why a major broadcasting company wants to do a broadcast interview with him at all. Ji-hyuk then tells the reporter directly that he has nothing to discuss with him like this in an informal setting, and he can make an official interview request through the agency if he wants to talk. Ji-hyuk does not believe that reporter at all or trust his intentions, because in his first year at school, he saw Han-suk suffer greatly after falling for a reporter's tricks and manipulation. Ji-hyuk tries his best to walk away from the situation and leave, but the reporter kept walking around him and following him closely, asking different kinds of questions like is he sure to win the MVP award in all tournaments this year, or if he was close friends with Jong-seop and got along well. Ji-hyuk finally arrives at school after dealing with that situation, and that is where he runs into Hyung-soo in the hallway. He tells him everything about how he met a CBC reporter who wanted to do an interview with him outside the school, but Hyung-soo gets amazed to see that a massive broadcasting company wants to do an interview with him specifically and give him attention. Ji-hyuk then tells Hyung-soo that there was one particular question he had been asked before by Sang-go during one of their meetings, and that question was about how 3 superstar rookies appeared all at once in baseball and said that they will rewrite Major League history with their talents. So, Sang-go asked Ji-hyuk directly what he thinks about their existence and how they will affect the game. Back in the present, Hyung-soo wonders if Ji-hyuk replied that he will strike them all out with his ultra-technique fastball to show his dominance, but Ji-hyuk says back that he actually told Sang-go that having strong competition is actually good for everyone involved. Furthermore, Ji-hyuk explains that while playing in this Golden Lion Flag and Blue Dragon Flag tournaments, he thought if he keeps striking out batters like this, it might lose meaning for him to stand on the mound. Ji-hyuk then says that he is a bit worried as what if it's like this in the pros too, and if that happens, he might not even feel stimulated by the name pro. The next day, during a match against another team, everyone starts talking about Ji-hyuk's overwhelming pitching skills and how they are crushing the other team with ease and dominance. Ji-hyuk then manages to throw a powerful 156 km/h fastball that even freezes the batter in place and makes him unable to swing. Elsewhere at the same time, Jaya and her friend are watching Ji-hyuk's match on television or online, and Jaya thinks to herself that Ji-hyuk should be able to do at least that much easily, considering he throws balls day and night at home just to catch batters and improve his skills. She further tells her friend that if she lived at their house for a week and experienced it, she would understand completely because her brother is nothing without baseball in his life, and he lives and breathes it every single day without fail. After hearing that explanation, the girl asks Jaya a curious question about if Ji-hyuk has a girlfriend yet or is dating anyone, but Jaya tells her back that he is a loner who keeps to himself, and he probably does not even know what a girlfriend actually is or how relationships work. Jaya then explains that the other day when she told him she was going to the movies with her boyfriend, he was so flustered, but the girl doesn't care to what Jaya says. Jaya tells her that even if Ji-hyuk starts dating, they will probably break up soon, as every morning when Ji-hyuk wakes up, he does at least 30 minutes of stretching, and once he starts running, it lasts for 2 hours, and when he gets home, he's always throwing towels into the air. However, Jaya's friend tells her that when someone as extraordinary as her brother, she can't help but be attracted. She explains that he's good looking too with those broad shoulders, and even she can't say anything bad about his personality. Jaya and her friend then watch Ji-hyuk's match properly, and Jaya wishes that someone would hit her brother's ball out of the park, but turns out none of the batters of this team could hit a single ball from Ji-hyuk even though they are massive. Jaya then gets surprises to see that a new batter's build is even bigger than her brother's, and if batter like that hits the ball, it might go up in the sky and never come down. After that, Ji-hyuk throws his ball and the batter gets strike out as usual. That makes Jaya frustrated. Jaya thinks that none of those batters has practiced enough because they have been missing the ball non-stop. Deep down, Jaya's friend wonders that they might have practiced hard to represent their school, but they are not able to do anything against Ji-hyuk because he is too good. Ji-hyuk's team then manages to win the championship of the 90th Golden Lion Flag tournament. Later, Jaya and her friend go to eat some dessert at a bakery together, but then Jaya sees a child with her older brother buying some dessert as well at the counter. Jaya gets all sad and emotional while watching them, so her friend asks Jaya if she also wants to act all cute like that with her brother and have that kind of relationship. Jaya tries to make excuses and deflect the question, saying that she was just looking at the kid because they are cute and nothing more, but then Jaya's friend says that it would be really nice if Ji-hyuk would come with them next time they go out together. Despite that suggestion, Jaya tells her friend that having someone famous in the family is super annoying and difficult, because the reporters are taking photos of their family without permission is just the start of the problems, and dad and mom always nag her because of her brother and his actions, and what's most annoying is that people always think she is wasting her brother's money when she buys things. Meanwhile, another of Ilsek's matches is going on at the stadium, and now Hyung-soo is actually batting at the plate, and the commentator thinks out loud that he is considered a person of interest in this tournament with his consecutive home runs that he has been hitting. However, the opposing team's coach gives the signal to his pitcher, and they are intentionally walking Hyung-soo and giving him a free pass to first base to avoid pitching to him. Later at Hyung-soo's apartment where he lives, he tells Ji-hyuk that if this keeps going on like this, other pitchers who come up against him will avoid him as well and refuse to pitch to him. Ji-hyuk then asks him a question about what happened to the offer about changing his position to fielder instead of staying as a catcher, but Hyung-soo replies back that he turned it down and rejected the offer completely. He explains to Ji-hyuk that he cannot give up on being a catcher at all, because that thrill and excitement when catching a pitcher's full power pitch is so amazing and addicting, and he just cannot let it go or give up that feeling for anything else. However, Ji-hyuk still tells him to think it over carefully if he wants a long career in baseball that lasts many years, because his height is also a problem that will cause issues and challenges down the road. Hyung-soo knows and understands that being too big is a disadvantage for a catcher position in many ways, but he wants to show those people who say negative things that a big guy like him can have a long career as a catcher too and prove them wrong. Deep down inside, Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that Hyung-soo is pretty cool and admirable for sticking to his dream, and if he were Hyung-soo in that situation, to gain more recognition in the pros and get attention, he would have accepted the position offer to switch roles. Hyung-soo then says with determination that he really wants to smack one of Ji-hyuk's pitches out of the park one day and show his power. Meanwhile, at Taejun-hawk's director office in the city, a guy tells director Yoo Jong-hak with urgency that they must sign Ji-hyuk and get him on their team. The other guy then asks the director if there is even a need to think further with a player like Ji-hyuk. He further informs that YJ Agency's CEO hasn't said anything about Ji-hyuk's draft direction yet, and this guy turns out to be team leader Taeol. The director then tells him to calm down and thinks rationally because the report here predicts he will be the 15th and 16th pick in the first round overseas, and the value he is putting on Ji-hyuk is first round. The team leader then explains that in 2021, Farrellow, who signed as the 30th pick in the first round, got a $15 million contract, and that's still the minimum amount, but the director replies that a smart team leader like him must know how much they should offer to sign Ji-hyuk. The team leader then says that it is expected to be at least $30 million as a signing bonus for Ji-hyuk, but the team leader says that there is no reason for Ji-hyuk to enter the domestic draft instead of going overseas. However, the team leader asks him a hypothetical question about what if Ji-hyuk registers for tomorrow's domestic draft against expectations, but the director does not take this seriously at all and dismisses it, so the team leader says that Ji-hyuk's probability of registering for the domestic draft is 50% in his estimation. After hearing that surprising number, the director gets surprised and shocked, and wonders out loud how did the team leader even manage to calculate this probability with any certainty. But the team leader adds and explains that the hint is in the interview that Ji-hyuk gave after winning the MVP award at the Phoenix Cup tournament, and Ji-hyuk said in the interview that he would achieve the best career possible as a professional player no matter what path he takes. The team leader further says that the BA evaluation in the current scout report is underestimated, but with experience and growth added to Ji-hyuk's current skills, he could have an incredible spec. In addition to that, he believes that if Ji-hyuk goes to the major now, he won't stand out for 1 to 2 years and the team won't promote him to the majors right away either. The director then tells the team leader that he is surprised to hear such words from him because he is the one who knows the domestic pro level too well. However, the team leader asks him that if it's difficult domestically, the majors become an even more distant option. The team leader then tells him to think carefully as it's about the best career and between AAA where he won't achieve anything, and the domestic league which is slightly lower but still respectable anywhere. A few hours later, a guy informs the director that Ji-hyuk registered for the domestic draft, and the director is surprised to see that team leader's prediction was right. Later that day, the director meets with the team leader once again in his office, and the team leader shows him a data sheet in which the expected amounts that the Dragons and Buffaloes will offer to Ji-hyuk are written down clearly. After seeing the amount on the paper, the director gets surprised and asks out loud if the team leader really thinks this is even a reasonable amount to ask for one player. The team leader tells him in response that there is a possibility of upward adjustment in the future as Ji-hyuk proves himself more, but he does not expect it to go below these amounts they are seeing now as the minimum, but the director says back with concern that they do not have the capacity to offer this much money to one player without hurting their budget. The team leader then says to him that a professional player's value is ultimately proven by money and contracts, so they also need to spend money to get good players, and they do not need to spend a large amount right away but can structure the deal, but the director gets confused about what even is he trying to say with this plan. Meanwhile, Ji-hyuk is meeting with an agency's CEO at their office and tells him during their conversation that his father always told him not to ruin his precious career as a player by being blinded by money and making bad decisions just for cash. The guy then takes out a contract details sheet from the teams that have contacted them and made offers, and it is starting off with Suwon Dragons who are willing to pay 40 billion won as their offer, and another is Taejun Hawks who are paying 35 billion won, and another team as well, but Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that Taejun Hawks seems the worst option out of all of them. The guy then adds and explains that Taejun Hawks has also offered additional terms that are 20% of the transfer fee if he moves to another team later, and they would even cover all the taxes and pass it on to the player directly. However, Ji-hyuk gets surprised by this generous offer and asks what the reason for them is to go to such lengths to sign him. The guy replies back to him that it is because he is worth that much money to a team, and if they can just sign him to their roster, then the team can earn over 10 billion won in revenue in just a few years from ticket sales and merchandise alone. The guy then tells Ji-hyuk that Taejun Hawks will not withdraw this offer now that they have made it, and rather, Suwon Dragons and Seoul Buffaloes will likely try to include similar conditions in their offers to compete. Ji-hyuk says back that the money is not the issue with them at all, but his condition is to go to the major leagues within 2 years at the shortest, or 3 years at the longest as his maximum wait time. Ji-hyuk then decides to trust this guy with everything related to joining a team because he thinks that he is a professional who knows what he is doing, and his father is going to discuss the negotiation details later when they meet again. The same guy from before appears and asks if that was the power curve Ji-hyuk just threw worthy of a perfect 80 out of 80 for pitch quality. The guy then informs them that Ji-hyuk's final contract has been completed, but Ji-hyuk asks if it's a contract where both his father and the representative will be satisfied with. Later at the KBO Domestic Rookie Draft nomination meeting, the entire event is filled with excitement and anticipation, and the team with the first pick in the very first round is the Suwon Dragons who get to make their selection first. The Suwon Dragons then select pitcher Juchun from Ilsik High School as their first-round pick, and the announcer says out loud that Juchun ranked second among all high school pitchers and third overall among all prospects in the rankings, and he is expected to build a solid starting rotation with other players already on the Suwon Dragons roster. The guy sitting next to Ji-hyuk then tells him that Juchun's contract is set for 6 years in length, and the total contract value is reported to be around 2.1 billion won for the entire duration of the deal. Next, the announcer says to everyone in the room that the Taejun Hawks have the second pick in the first round and it is now their turn to make their selection. The Taejun Hawks CEO then reveals to everyone in the room that the player he wants to select in the draft is Ji-hyuk, making it official. The announcer then says out loud that Ji-hyuk proudly ranked first among all high school pitchers and first overall among all prospects in 2025, and everyone in the room is curious and excited to see whether Ji-hyuk will continue the legendary legacy of Yu Hyoxian in the professional league or create his own path. The CEO of Taejun Hawks tells Ji-hyuk warmly that he hopes he will work really hard and achieve great results while wearing the Taejun Hawks uniform proudly, and he hands him their team uniform as a symbol of the new beginning. Ji-hyuk then goes back to his seat where the guy sitting next to him tells him that the Taejun Hawks contract is set for 3 years in length, and the benefits included are a 30 billion won signing bonus with a total salary of 1.2 billion won throughout the contract, and the additional option is 25% of the transfer fee, including all taxes, to be paid directly to the player when the time comes. Later that day, Ji-hyuk tries to calm his sister down because she is absolutely furious and upset over people trash talking about him online and saying negative things because he did not go to the major league like everyone expected him to. Right at that moment, Ji-hyuk's English tutor named Young-jun arrives at their home and immediately joins Ji-hyuk's younger sister in trying to stop the people who are hating on Ji-hyuk and leaving mean comments about his decision. After that whole situation settles down, Ji-hyuk tells his tutor that he is moving on Saturday and it overlaps with next week's scheduled lesson date, so the tutor does not need to come that day for their session since they will be busy with the move. The tutor is quite impressed and surprised to hear that Ji-hyuk's entire family is also moving with him to the new city together, and that is all because of his mom who truly believes that Ji-hyuk will not rest properly or take care of himself the way he should if he lives completely alone without any family around to look after him. The tutor then asks him a question about Jaya and what she plans to do, so Ji-hyuk tells him that she wants to go to a science high school and Taejun seems to be the most suitable city for that kind of school, and he himself will be attending a private university there as well while playing professionally. The next day, Ji-hyuk visits Taejun Hawks' head office for the first time as an official member, and everyone there greets him really nicely and warmly when he walks in, and they also tell him that ever since he started playing in the high school league and showing his incredible talent, they hoped and dreamed that he would come to their team one day. Ji-hyuk then meets with the director face to face, and the director asks Ji-hyuk directly if he is ready and prepared to pitch for their Taejin Hawks team for the next 3 years, starting from next year. Ji-hyuk replies back confidently that he joined the team to become the best pitcher he can possibly be, and he will prove to everyone that this was not a losing contract for the team at all. Ji-hyuk then tells the director that he wants to go look around the training ground and get familiar with the facilities, but the director is not completely sure if Coach Beck is at the training ground today since it is the off-season right now, and not many players visit the training ground during this period, and the coach is not there every single day either. Before Ji-hyuk leaves the office and heads out, the director tells him that they are leaving for training camp on the 15th of next month, so he should get the detailed schedule and all the necessary information from the front office staff before then. Outside, a woman guides Ji-hyuk that if he goes out and walk around the stadium, he will soon see the training ground. On his way, Ji-hyuk runs into a beautiful girl who introduces herself as Kang Haeung, a front office staff member of the Taejin. The girl holds Ji-hyuk's hands excitedly and tells him that she is such a huge fan of his and his perfect pitching style that she loves watching so much. She further asks him if he is going to work right now, but Ji-hyuk wonders inside his head if she uses the term going to work for baseball players too, since it is an unusual way to put it. Ji-hyuk then tells her that he is going to the facility right now to check things out, but she tells him that there will not be that many people there since it is the off-season and everyone is resting and relaxing at home right now. The girl then tells him to follow her because she is going to guide him to the training facility and show him the way there. On their way to the facility together, the girl asks Ji-hyuk a curious question about how he is able to throw that well and pitch so accurately, so he tells her back that he can only say that he practiced throwing well every single day without giving up. The girl continues talking and explains that she was really surprised and shocked when he announced that he would stay in Korea instead of going abroad to the major leagues, and she asks him if he has any regrets about making that decision. The girl just does not stop there and keeps going, starting to tell him a bunch of other stories like who her favorite player is and how she is going to cheer for Ji-hyuk now that he has officially signed with the Taejin Hawks team. She tells him that in order to get to the major league eventually, he will need to win a gold medal at the 2028 Busan Olympics to be exempt from military service and avoid interrupting his career. After that long and eventful conversation, they finally arrive at the facility together, and the girl leaves Ji-hyuk all by himself so he can check it out properly and explore on his own without distraction. Ji-hyuk then runs into Song Jin-wook, who is the pitching coach for the team, and Ji-hyuk quickly realizes and remembers that Song Jin-wook is the only pitcher in all of Korea to have pitched over 300 innings in professional baseball. Moreover, he is second only to Hwang Jong-yoon's 255 wins in most victories, making him the second highest winning pitcher in Korea with 210 wins accumulated over a long and impressive 21-year professional career. The coach then holds Ji-hyuk's hand firmly and asks him how much he lifts during his workout sessions, so Ji-hyuk tells him back that he mainly does tubing exercises rather than traditional weightlifting to build his strength. The coach tells him that he should not avoid weightlifting entirely and skip it completely, and there is no need to overdo it either, as he should just slowly build his strength up gradually using 60 to 70% of his body weight as a starting point. Ji-hyuk then explains to the coach that from a very young age his father made him do a bunch of different exercises and physical training activities, which makes the coach really impressed and happy to hear about his strong foundation. The coach then tells Ji-hyuk something surprising by saying that he does not really need to come to the training facility at all during the off-season, which makes Ji-hyuk get completely shocked and confused by what he is hearing. But the coach then reveals with a smile that he was just joking around and having a little fun with the new rookie player. The coach asks Ji-hyuk why did he stay in Korea, as there must be several major league teams ready to offer him over 30 million right away, so he is just curious on why did he throw all that away. Ji-hyuk replies that he made this decision because he don't think he is skilled enough for the majors yet, but the coach gets surprised to hear that from someone who is this good. The coach then tells him that he could have debuted in the major leagues with a huge signing bonus and the major leagues that some people want to join but can't. Just then, another guy shows up and tells the coach that if he is going to badger the rookie with his useless talk then he should just leave. The coach then gives a ball to Ji-hyuk and tells him to throw at him as he wants to see how amazing this legendary high school rookie's pitches really are. Ji-hyuk then makes a request that he wants to know how well his pitches work in the pros, and it's going to be an honor for him that senior Jang Tae-hoon will face him directly. Deep down, Ji-hyuk thinks that the coach might be Korea's best hitter back in the days, but now he's just a mediocre batter with a poor average who occasionally hits an unexpected home run. After that, the other coach then approaches Ji-hyuk and asks if he is going to pitch because Tae-hoon's words hurt his pride, but Ji-hyuk replies that he just wanted to see how good his pitches actually are. Ji-hyuk then thinks to himself that in the professional league, there will be countless players trying to step on him and put him down, but on the field there is no seniority or respect based on age alone, as he will not back down or let anyone trample over him no matter who they are. After that, Ji-hyuk throws his first pitch that is very fast and powerful, and then he throws another pitch which makes Taehoon think to himself that Ji-hyuk is really a good player with natural talent. Taehoon then gets to the mound area to take his turn at bat and asks the coach how Ji-hyuk's pitches are looking today, so the coach says back that they are really good pitches, and it is clear why he is called a legendary high school rookie with so much hype. Taehoon then tells the coach to watch carefully because he is going to show everyone how to defeat a professional player and teach the rookie a lesson. After that, Ji-hyuk throws a straight fastball with great velocity that the batter tries to hit and make contact with, but he could not connect at all, so he gets nervous and worried about facing more pitches. It turns out, the ball is actually a curve and Taehoon tells Ji-hyuk that he knows his curve but still can't hit it, which is actually a bit funny. The coach thinks that Taehoon's word sounds like praise, but his expression doesn't match, and a rookie who just became an adult threw a pitch that made him swing and miss, so it's obvious that Ji-hyuk deliberately threw a power curve. Taehoon then wonders what kind of pitch is next and throw that fastball he heard so much about. However, Ji-hyuk then throws a fastball and this ball also gets a strike as Taehoon couldn't manage to hit it. Taehoon then wonders if Ji-hyuk is running away and tells him to throw it with more spirit. The coach and the girl from before think that it was a ball and Taehoon swung at it pretty hard. The girl further tells the coach that Taehoon's game sense has clearly deteriorated as he's swinging at pitches he can see. However, the coach thinks to himself that for Taehoon in this current state and condition, a 150 km/h fastball is just a blink of an eye and he probably cannot even cut it or make contact with it. Ji-hyuk then wonders inside his mind if he could finish the at-bat with a curveball here, but then he realizes that Taehoon will likely do something about that and adjust, so he should try to end things with a fastball instead. After thinking it through, Ji-hyuk throws another fastball that goes straight toward Taehoon with great force, but unexpectedly the catcher catches it cleanly behind the plate. Seeing that happen, the girl says out loud that it was like the ball suddenly got pulled towards the batter's body in a strange way, but the coach explains back that it was a cut fastball, which is a subtype of fastball that drops slightly and moves in front of the batter at the last moment. The catcher then tells Taehoon directly that he got struck out because he missed 3 shots in a row without making any contact. However, Taehoon does not give up at all and tells Ji-hyuk to throw another ball and give him another chance, but Ji-hyuk notices that Taehoon's eyes have changed and look more determined and focused than before, but he still believes firmly that there is no better humiliation for a batter than a strikeout in just 3 pitches. Even after playing again, Taehoon loses just like usual and leaves the area without saying much, and Ji-hyuk tells the catcher honestly that if Taehoon had been a bit more serious and focused during their matchup, then he would not have dared to think he could win against him so easily. The catcher then tells Ji-hyuk that it was truly impressive power and performance to watch, and it really felt like he was truly worthy of that first-round overseas draft pick status that everyone had been talking about, and not only was his fastball amazing and hard to hit, but his breaking balls were quite something special too and very hard to read. He also tells Ji-hyuk that he needs to be more careful going forward because he just saw clearly that Taehoon has a lot of pride about his abilities, and he will likely remember what happened today for a very long time and want to get revenge for the embarrassment he felt. Hearing that, Ji-hyuk wonders inside his head if he really made a mistake today by being too showy, but then the catcher tells him to do his cool-down exercise and wraps up by saying he will see him next time. Deep down inside, the catcher thinks to himself that an oblivious junior player is much better than an arrogant one, and it is actually better than the rumors of arrogance that had been going around about Ji-hyuk being a top high school player and first-round overseas draft pick who thinks too highly of himself. Right at that moment, the coach shows up and walks over to ask Ji-hyuk directly if he were deliberately throwing only strikes during the session and says that he kept throwing pitches right in the middle of the strike zone without trying anything tricky. Ji-hyuk replies back to him that he was just pitching defensively and carefully, feeling overwhelmed by senior Taehoon's strong aura and presence at the plate, but the coach says back that a pitcher who avoids batters and plays it too safe cannot survive in the professional league for very long, and with such good pitches and natural talent he should know to throw boldly and with full confidence without backing down from any batter. Ji-hyuk then wraps up his training and heads out, where he finds the same girl from before also waiting for a bus. The girl straight away asks Ji-hyuk if he would like to grab a coffee together at a nearby cafe, and Ji-hyuk decides to go with her and accept the invitation. At the cafe where they go, they both get green lattes to drink, and Ji-hyuk seems to find it really delicious after taking his first sip, so the girl tells him that everything in this restaurant is delicious and he should try something else next time he visits this place. The girl further tells him that since he bought the drinks today and paid for them, she will treat him to dinner next time as a way to return the favor, because there are many restaurants near the team facility that are worth trying. The girl further asks him a curious question about how it feels to have properly humbled someone with such a strong ego like Taehoon has, but Ji-hyuk does not know what she is talking about or understand what she means, so she explains more clearly that he totally crushed Taehoon's pride and made him feel small. However, Ji-hyuk replies back modestly that it was just because Taehoon got excited and could not perform at his best level, and if they competed when he was completely calm, Ji-hyuk would not have dared to think he could win against him. The girl then reveals something surprising by telling him that Taehoon and she are second cousins and related by family. After that, the girl tells him not to worry about what happened today as Taehoon can be difficult but he's not petty enough to get revenge on a junior 10 years younger. She also reveals that there is something that Taehoon always says to people, and that is if he had been born just 3 years later in time, he would have played in the major leagues and achieved his dream of going overseas. She explains that 3 years after Taehoon's debut as a professional, players had to sign with the team that drafted them without any negotiation or choice in the matter, but in 2018 the rookie draft system changed to give players more freedom, and it must be incredibly frustrating from his point of view to have missed that opportunity by such a small margin. But it was okay for a while because he exploded with potential in his first year as a professional player. In addition to that, she says that he hit 300 with 30 home runs in that first year, putting his struggles from high school behind him, and with the abolition of the free agency system, he finally got his chance at the majors and a shot at his dream. After hearing that, Ji-hyuk says that it was a great opportunity for him to finally go overseas, but the girl adds sadly that during negotiations with the major league teams, they found some pain in Taehoon's left knee during the medical examination, and the teams who somehow found out about this injury started slashing their contract offers way below expectations. Hearing that, Ji-hyuk realizes that this is why his performance was not top-notch, and the pressure of having to be a team leader after a huge transfer fee must have been a burden for him, and as a result, his physical condition only worsened. Ji-hyuk then asks the girl directly why she is telling him all this personal information about Taehoon, so she says back that it is because she wants to thank him for what he did. She explains to him that Taehoon still thinks he is the best player on the team and that injuries are nothing to worry about, and that he can soar again and reach his peak if he just puts his mind to it and works hard. She believes strongly that Taehoon must have forgotten the feeling of getting defeated by a pitcher after so many years, and Ji-hyuk made him remember that feeling again and showed him he still has room to improve. The next day, Taehoon continues practicing his batting over and over again at the facility, and he cannot believe that he is losing to a rookie fresh out of high school now when he used to dominate everyone. He then thinks back to a time when he got struck out badly during a game, and the coach got absolutely furious at him and asked if he was not trying to play the game anymore or if he had given up. Taehoon tries to make an excuse and defend himself weakly, but he ends up avoiding the coach and leaving the area before the conversation can continue further. Everyone arrives at Okinawa, Japan for their training camp to prepare for the upcoming season, and during that time Ji-hyuk asks the coach to teach him the changeup pitch and help him add it to his arsenal. Ji-hyuk tells him that he has been famous for throwing excellent sliders and changeups throughout his career, so he really wants to learn from him and get his expertise on the pitch. The coach asks him if he also asked pitching coach Jang Kielman to teach him the two-seam fastball as well, and the coach then says that adding 2 more pitches to his current 3 pitches will not be easy at all, but they should still work hard together and practice diligently. Later at the resort where they are staying, Ji-hyuk is told by the seniors to do some laundry in the washroom and tidy up the shared room too as part of his rookie duties. Ji-hyuk then goes through his daily routine, which consists of morning group basic training, afternoon training sessions with new pitches he is learning, and ending the day with rookie chores that need to be completed. Sometime later, Ji-hyuk gets back to his room exhausted, and that is where a guy named Hyunwoo offers him a drink and asks him if he had juice before in his life, but Ji-hyuk straight away tells him honestly that he never had one before at any point. Another guy named Ju-young, who is also a pitcher at Daejeon Hawks, walks over and asks Ji-hyuk about his training and how it is going so far. The other guy then ignores the question and quickly says that when he first joined the pros as a rookie, his first training camp was really fun too and full of memories. The guy then asks Ji-hyuk a direct question about how many pitchers on their team does he think have pitches as good as his own, so Ji-hyuk quickly takes the name of Ju-young as an answer but also mentions Hyunki and Hyukjin as other talented pitchers on the roster. However, the other guy says back that Ju-young is already past his prime years and not as good as he used to be. Ju-young then tells them all that athletes cannot escape the passage of time and aging no matter how hard they try, and he specifically tells Hyunwoo that when he gets older and his performance drops significantly, he will be sure to chew him out and give him a hard time about it. Hyunwoo then grabs Ju-young's shoulder playfully and tells him that as people get older, They should become more benevolent and kinder to others, and it is ugly to see someone get grumpy with their age instead of becoming wiser. After that moment, all three of them drink their juices together to enjoy the night, and Hyunwoo even offers Ji-hyuk his special chicken leg piece as a gesture of friendship. A little while later, Ji-hyuk falls asleep from exhaustion after the long day of training. Ju-young mentions that he has never seen someone in his entire life who has been so blindly devoted to sports and training like Ji-hyuk is. Ju-young further mentions that he has really high hopes for Ji-hyuk and thinks he will be successful, but the other boy mentions back that Ji-hyuk is impressive for sure, but he himself is no slouch either as a player, because in his own opinion he is the best pitcher in Korea right now. The next day, the coach informs Ji-hyuk that the key to a two-seam fastball is undoubtedly control and precision, and with poor control of the pitch, it is one of those pitches that batters can easily crush and hit for home runs. He further adds that there is only one way to gain that control and mastery over the pitch, and that is to throw it until his arm feels like it is going to fall off from repetition. He says that because of the high air friction and movement of the pitch, he has no choice but to throw it consistently to find the right feel and muscle memory for it. He gives an example about himself and his own experience, saying that he used to throw 200 balls each day when he was learning it, but Ji-hyuk gets nervous hearing that huge number. So, the guy tells him not to go that far with his training because he already has an excellent four-seam fastball and power curve in his arsenal, so he does not have to risk injury trying to perfect the two-seamer and overwork himself. Ji-hyuk then thinks inside his head that it will take some time to gain proper control at two-seam fastball and master it completely, and not just this pitch, but he also needs to work on his change-up pitch and make it better as well. Before leaving, the guy tells Ji-hyuk that his pitching balance also seems a bit off, as it looks like he developed some slight changes while learning new pitches, so he should be careful about it, and if he does not fix this early on, it will become ingrained in his form and be much harder to correct later. However, Ji-hyuk does not seem to understand properly what the guy is saying, so the guy tells him more clearly that to his trained eye, there is a slight change in his elbow and wrist at the release point when he throws, and once a pitcher's form starts to break down, it can quickly spiral out of control and ruin their career. The guy then tells Ji-hyuk to talk to analyst Yang Cheonim, as he can show him a detailed breakdown of his pitching video and point out exactly what needs to be fixed. Later, Ji-hyuk visits Yang Cheonim's office to review his pitching video and get the analysis he needs, but Ji-hyuk gets surprised and taken aback to find Taehoon sitting there as well in the same room. Ji-hyuk then watches his pitching video carefully and realizes that there is definitely something wrong with it, especially his elbow that comes out ahead of his head just before the pitch is released, but everything else in his motion looks the same as usual. Ji-hyuk then tries to find a reason for that specific flaw in his mechanics, but Taehoon tells him that applying force like that increases the angle even more and makes the problem worse, and then he starts acknowledging Ji-hyuk and giving him actual advice. After Taehoon leaves the room, Ji-hyuk decides to go check if his angle is really severe like Taehoon said, and it turns out that Taehoon was absolutely right about the issue. Afterward, Ji-hyuk thanks Taehoon sincerely and tells him that because of him and his help, he was able to solve the issue that was bothering him and affecting his pitching. However, Taehoon straight away tells Ji-hyuk coldly that he does not like him as a person, so he should stay away from him as much as he can from now on, but Ji-hyuk notices that something has changed in his attitude and he seems less hostile than before. Later, Ji-hyuk decides to check out if he actually fixed his pitching mechanics or not, and it turns out that he did successfully correct the issue. The catcher tells him that he has returned to his stable pitching balance, just like before the problem started, and it is impressive that he fixed it back to normal in just a few days of focused work, but Ji-hyuk replies modestly that it is all thanks to him for finding and fixing it in advance before it became a bigger problem. The catcher also mentions that his pitching balance has improved even more than before the issue happened, and his change-up's power has increased significantly compared to before when he was first learning it. So, at this rate and pace of improvement, by the end of the training camp he will be at a level where he can pitch in actual games without any problems. Afterwards, Ji-hyuk goes to meet with the manager, who is a 63-year-old man with lots of experience, and he has taken the manager position of the Daejeon Hawks for the first time in this season. Even though he does not have any notable achievements during his playing career as a professional player, after retirement he boarded a plane to America and dove into Major League Baseball to learn and grow, and after 21 years of earning recognition and respect there, he became a senior coach with a great reputation. In addition to that impressive career, for a month he became the first Korean person to serve as an interim manager in Major League Baseball history. The manager then tells Ji-hyuk that in 10 days from now, they are going to have a friendly match between their Daejeon Hawks and the Chunichi Dragons team and asks him directly if he thinks he can start and pitch in that game. Ji-hyuk hesitates for a while and tells him that there are other players as well who could pitch, but the manager replies back that Ji-hyuk is the only player he is most interested in confirming and seeing on the team right now, and they already know about last year's ace pitcher and second starter Hyunki who achieved 12 wins, and they know all about the other existing starting pitchers as well. The manager then tells him that he has been involved in Major League Baseball for a while now, and asks if Ji-hyuk knows what he felt when coming back to the domestic league after all those years, but Ji-hyuk has no idea what he means, so the old man starts laughing and saying it is obvious that he does not know yet. The manager adds that he felt it was below the standard he was used to, and he too had an unremarkable playing career before going to the major leagues to learn, but after experiencing the major leagues and coming back home to Korea, it was really terrible and disappointing to see the difference. Moreover, the manager says that the first-round draft picks from the majors are rough diamonds with amazing talents that need to be polished, and domestic players might not want to admit it. However, in terms of talent alone, none of them can compare to what major league prospects have, and that is the reason he has great expectations from Ji-hyuk and believes in his potential. Ji-hyuk then tells the manager that he knows everyone had expectations from him and there's no reason for him to feel intimidated now, and he planned to go to the major leagues within his contract period with Daejeon Hawks. Before leaving, the manager tells Ji-hyuk that he will consider him for the first or second starting position this season based on his performance, but Ji-hyuk gets surprised to hear that. The manager tells him that he will be starting in about 2 exhibition games during this training camp and he will be able to briefly assess his skills there. At the same time, a reporter also arrives in Japan because of Ji-hyuk and thinks that he has to get something out of this no matter what, otherwise the department head will tear him apart for going all the way to Okinawa. The reporter then runs into a blonde-haired guy who tells him that it's an unofficial game at Chunichi Dragon's request, but the reporter asks why would Chunichi do that, so the guy replies that it's because it would be embarrassing to lose with today's lineup. The reporter then asks him about the lineup, so the guy tells him that he heard it's the same as last year's Climax series, which surprises the reporter Oswell. The reporter says that the Chunichi Dragons have not finished below 3rd place in Japan's Central League for 7 to 8 years straight, and this strong showing is all because of the exciting news that Ji-hyuk is starting in this game today. Later, it is finally time for the friendly match between Daejeon Hawks and Chunichi Dragons to begin. At the sidelines, the players of Daejeon talk amongst themselves about how Matsu Takaya is going to play as well, and he is someone who won 19 games and 2 Sawamura awards last year as one of the best pitchers in Japan. One of them wonders out loud if it is just overkill to use their ace pitcher in a friendly game and wonders how many batters from their team will be able to hit properly without game sense and timing. They also wonder about Matsu Takaya winning the True Sawamura award this time around, and how he should be ready for the majors soon with his talent, but he is still with the Dragons team for some reason. Ji-hyuk manages to overhear everything and thinks that this prestigious award is only given to pitchers who meet these incredibly difficult criteria, but there are cases where it's given without meeting all these qualifications, and True Sawamura award exists to distinguish these cases. Moreover, a True Sawamura award winner is recognized as a true ace pitcher in Japan. One of the guy then walks up to Ji-hyuk and says that he is not sure what Chunichi's intentions are with this lineup, but he shouldn't be nervous and just pitch comfortably as no one is going to criticize him for giving up some runs. The match then begins with Daejeon's leadoff batter Hyunwoo going to the mound to take his at-bat, and he is up against Matsu Takaya, who is going to pitch for the opposing team. Matsu then throws a straight fastball that touches 152 km/h in speed, and everyone watching gets surprised and shocked, wondering why he is playing so hard and serious in an unofficial friendly game. Matsu then notices that Hyunwoo looks quite nimble and athletic right now at the plate, and those scars are visible here and there on his body, which could be traces of rough stolen base attempts and sliding into bases hard. After that observation, Matsu throws his second ball that nearly hits Hyunwoo's body with force, but he manages to dodge it just in time to avoid getting hit, and it was 153 km/h that makes Hyunwoo absolutely furious. Matsu throws another ball that is a breaking ball that Hyunwoo missed as well without making contact, but Ji-hyuk notices from the dugout that the ball was incredibly fast and sharp in its movement. Now, it is the bottom of the first inning and none of the Daejeon players managed to touch Matsu's pitches at all, and now it is Ji-hyuk's turn for pitching, and everyone desperately wants to watch him pitch and see what he can do. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that despite this being his first start since becoming a professional player, standing on the mound strangely calms his heart and makes him feel comfortable, and that is the reason he wonders if this could be considered a natural talent that he was born with. Everyone then notices that the other team is also starting with a switch hitter as the leadoff batter, and the batter is actually doing an open stance and choking up on the bat to get better control. The hitter turns out to be Kitakawa Taname, who was last season's undisputed leadoff hitter with an incredibly high on-base percentage and great plate discipline. The catcher then gives a signal to Ji-hyuk to throw an outside four-seam fastball away from the batter, and then Ji-hyuk manages to throw the ball exactly as the catcher tells him to do with good accuracy. The catcher then takes a timeout and walks to the mound to ask Ji-hyuk if he is having trouble with control of his pitches today. However, Ji-hyuk says back that he is perfectly fine and has no issues with his control, but the catcher asks him why the pitches keep going down the middle of the strike zone then instead of where he calls for them. At that moment, the catcher realizes that Ji-hyuk is actually doing that on purpose and throwing to the middle intentionally, so he tells him sternly not to throw any more pitches based on childish thoughts or his own ideas. After that conversation, the game resumes and continues, and Ji-hyuk realizes that the catcher called for quite a deceptive breaking ball this time, and he believes that this is a test pitch to see if he will follow his signs or not and trust his catcher's decisions. Ji-hyuk then throws the ball exactly as how the catcher wanted him to throw it, and seeing that successful pitch, other players think that this time the catcher is calling for a pitch that breaks even more than the last one. One of the old men watching from the stands thinks to himself that Hwang Dae-hoon might be overshadowed by other great players and catchers, but he is the catcher for the Daejeon Hawks and he thinks that if he does not prioritize teamwork above all else, the team will struggle. The catcher then gives a signal to Ji-hyuk to throw a four-seam fastball next that barely catches the corner of the strike zone, and depending on the umpire's style it could be called a ball instead of a strike, but they need to check and see how this umpire calls it regardless. Ji-hyuk then manages to strike out the batter cleanly with that pitch, and now another batter named Shinkai is going to go next to take his turn at the plate. The match then continues to move forward, with the umpire calling the strike zone tight inside and loose outside, so the catcher gives a signal for a high inside pitch to confirm how the umpire will call it. Now, it is time for Chunichi Dragon's third batter Shinkai's turn at the plate, and he is the team's star slugger who has won the home run title 3 times in his career. On the other hand, the reporter covering the game gets all excited and enthusiastic that Ji-hyuk is so amazing that he got 2 consecutive strikeouts already, and now he is going head-to-head with Shinkai in a big matchup. Shinkai then does a clean upper swing stance at the plate with confidence, and the reporter thinks out loud that he might be planning to send Ji-hyuk's pitch over the fence for a home run, which means this is going to be an insane head-to-head altercation between pitcher and batter. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that something is going to be crazy and intense because he has only seen Shinkai on TV once before and now he is standing right in front of him in person at the plate. The catcher then hopes silently that Ji-hyuk better not get too excited about facing Shinkai and lose his composure and gives a signal that the first pitch should be a low ball diving towards the knees for a strike to start things off. Ji-hyuk then throws a ball that goes straight towards Shinkai with good speed and placement, and he manages to shoot a shot and make contact with the ball, but it gets called foul and does not count as a hit. Ji-hyuk thinks to himself that it is as expected of the team's star batter and cleanup hitter with his reputation, even though it looks like he is swinging casually and not putting in his full effort or power yet. Shinkai then starts taunting Ji-hyuk with his words and trying to get into his head and mess with his confidence, and now the catcher gives a signal to Ji-hyuk to throw the ball outside and away from the batter to see how he reacts. Ji-hyuk then throws the ball straight outside just like the signal asked, and the batter misses it completely and tells Ji-hyuk that it is boring, so he should throw a proper pitch next time that he can actually hit. The catcher then gives a signal to Ji-hyuk to throw a high fastball up in the zone, so now Ji-hyuk decides to throw a fastball even if the control is a bit unstable and risky. The ball goes straight towards Shinkai with great velocity, and he tries his best to swing and hit it, but he could not make contact at all, so it is now a swing strike that puts him in a worse position. Everyone then gets shocked to see Ji-hyuk's top speed shot and the reporter can't believe that he got a strike against Shinkai Jin in a power battle. Shinkai gets nervous as well and he can't believe that he got overpowered in a strength contest. Ji-hyuk wonders how fast his pitch was just now as it's his first time throwing at Oswell, a fastball without focusing on control and judging by the reactions, it doesn't seem bad. Ji-hyuk realizes one thing for sure and that is Shinkai is not intimidating at all and it could be because he's an experienced pro but despite that he wants to end this with the next pitch. The catcher then gives a sign for the fastball down the middle, so Ji-hyuk decides to give it everything he got to end the match. Ji-hyuk then throws the ball that goes straight towards Shinkai and as he tries to hit it with everything he got, he ends up missing it and the ball gets a strike. It turns out, Ji-hyuk's throw is at 161 km speed and no one could believe that Ji-hyuk had the potential to even throw it like that. One of the other players then asks Dae-hoon, who is actually the catcher, how did it feel catching that 100 mph pitch just now? Dae-hoon tells him that it's like they know something is coming but they can't hit it and even if someone tried to hit it, they can't make proper contact. The other guy then asks Dae-hoon if there are any other pitchers in Korea who can throw 100 mph, so Dae-hoon replies that there is one and that is the first Korean major leaguer. On the other hand, the coach realizes that Matsu Takaya got fired up as his pitch speed is 156 kilometers, but their own defense is fine with Ji-hyuk there, but he is worried about batting as the only one he can rely on right now is Taehoon. Before the match started, Taehoon called the coach to ask him a serious question about how he should rehabilitate his left knee that has been bothering him. Back in the present time, the coach thinks to himself that Taehoon's injuries are an athlete's worst enemy, and that is an undeniable fact, especially for someone like him who almost made it to the majors and had his dream so close, and injuries are not something that athletes can avoid completely, but they have to see how to wisely deal with them and manage them properly. The pitcher then throws the ball at Taehoon with good speed and placement, but Taehoon unexpectedly did not swing his bat at all and let it miss and go by for a ball. After seeing that disciplined approach, Taehoon also wonders to himself that if this was last season, Taehoon would have swung at that pitch 100% without hesitation, but now he held back and showed patience, so there must have been a change in his mindset and approach to hitting. The pitcher thinks to himself that Taehoon only batted 200 last season and had a terrible year, and he thinks that Taehoon seems to have a better eye for pitches than he thought he would have. The pitcher then decides to throw a high-speed slider in the next pitch that barely misses the strike zone and is just outside, but surprisingly Taehoon decides to hold back on that pitch and not swing at it. After seeing that incredible discipline, no one watching can believe that he could hold back on that pitch, because now he wants to patiently wait for the pitch that is meant for him and is in his zone. Afterward, the pitcher throws another ball with confidence that the catcher patiently waits for Taehoon to miss and swing through without making contact, but Taehoon then finds a perfect moment and timing and hits it with good solid contact. The ball then goes straight towards the outside part of the field with great force behind it, but it gets ruled as a foul ball by the umpire even though the location and contact was absolutely perfect for a hit. Taehoon says that Taehoon has seemed different and changed lately, ever since he started showing up to practice more often and taking things more seriously. Taehoon then turns to Ji-hyuk and asks him directly if Taehoon is trying to have an awakening and resurgence after competing with him and losing to him. The opponent team's catcher then realizes that the current version of Taehoon is dangerous and a real threat, so he plans on shutting him down for sure before he can do any damage, but then he notices that the pitcher's switch has been flipped as now he is serious about throwing his best pitches. Meanwhile, the blonde-haired guy asks the reporter sitting near him who that batter is, so the reporter tells him that it is Taehoon, the star batter of the Daejeon Hawks team, and he is a power hitter who almost made it to the majors with his incredible performance early in his debut years. The catcher then thinks to himself that he underestimated Taehoon because he was a 200 hitter last season, but right now he is more threatening than any other batter on the Daejeon Hawks roster and is locked in. However, Takaya is not the one to get intimidated by this pressure either and will respond. Matsu then throws a fastball with good velocity that gets called as a strike by the umpire, but then Taehoon says out loud that a fastball reminds him of someone he knows and puts him into a bad mood for sure. Matsu then continues to throw the ball with confidence, but it gets consecutive cuts and foul balls from Taehoon, so everyone watching wonders what is even going on right now and why Taehoon is hitting everything. Taehoon thinks to himself that if Taehoon returns to his old form and plays like he used to, he could even match Matsu and compete at that elite level. In a flashback to an earlier time, the coach asks Taehoon about his weakness as a hitter, but Taehoon wonders why the coach is bringing that up now when things are going well, so the coach says bluntly that Taehoon is very arrogant and full of pride. The coach tells him that he gets excited too quickly and that is wrong and dangerous for his performance, because excitement is just as fatal for batters as it is for anyone else, and a batter's excitement often leads to making mistakes and swinging at bad pitches. Back in the present, Taehoon manages to hit a shot that goes straight outside into the outfield, and it is a long hit with great distance and power behind it, so he does not waste any more time at all standing around watching and quickly runs towards the second base to get into scoring position for his team. Now, at the bottom of the second inning, Chunichi Dragons are at bat and taking their turn at the plate, and everyone at the other team thinks and discusses that Taehoon is completely different from what they expected and much better than his recent statistics showed, and one of them thinks out loud that Taehoon was even more unpredictable than he expected him to be based on last season, and the rumors about Monster Taehoon being back in form are absolutely true. The opposing team's players start to worry about how to handle Taehoon going forward, since he is clearly locked in and seeing the ball extremely well right now, and they realize they need to adjust their strategy when pitching to him in future at-bats. Now, it is Ji-hyuk's turn for pitching on the mound, and the batter from the other team is Yamaguchi Takashi, who has a solid and impressive build of 187 centimeters tall and 89 kilograms in weight, and he is the cleanup hitter for the Chunichi Dragons, who hit 46 home runs last season, marking his third consecutive year with 40-plus home runs to his name. Moreover, Yamaguchi, who pushed Shinkai to the third spot in the batting order instead of keeping him at cleanup, could undoubtedly be called the top candidate for the current Japanese professional baseball home run title this season, and yet surprisingly he has not swung the bat even once up to 2 strikes and 2 balls in the count. However, Daehun thinks to himself that Yamaguchi did not even flinch at the outside pitch that was meant to lure him into swinging, and he is surprised to see that the batter who hits 40 home runs every single year is trying to make contact instead of swinging for power. Ji-hyuk then throws a curveball that goes straight towards Yamaguchi with good movement and placement, but he makes contact and hits a foul tip and gets struck out on the play. After hearing that, Yamaguchi could not believe what just happened, so he turns around to argue with the umpire about the call, but when he sees that the ball got a foul tip and went straight to the catcher's glove for the out, he gets surprised and realizes the call was correct. On the other hand, the blonde guy says to the reporter that he is really curious to see Coach Otari's expression right now and what he is thinking, but the reporter asks him back why he wants to see his expression specifically out of everyone. The blonde-haired guy explains in response that the reason why the ultra-conservative Coach Otari set this lineup as last season's best was specifically to step on Ji-hyuk and shut him down completely. After that intense moment, it is the top of the 5th inning and Taejun Hawks are at offense and taking their turn, and Taejun's batter wonders to himself if Matsu is going to come down a notch and pitch easier now. However, Daehun tells him sternly not to think weak like that, because they just need to think about getting on base and making things happen for the team. After that moment, the match continues and moves forward, and Matsu Takaya manages to show everyone that he is the best pitcher out there by destroying everyone that is coming on his way and facing him. Ji-hyuk then meets up with the manager in the dugout, and the manager asks him about his condition and how he is feeling physically, so Ji-hyuk says back that he is perfectly fine and has no issues at all, and then the manager tells him to go back to the field and do some more pitching for the team. The match continues and the reporter thinks that if Ji-hyuk shows this kind of pitching generously in the domestic league, the Taejun Hawks' winning percentage this season will be terrifying. Deep down, the reporter thinks to himself that Ji-hyuk is a player who lacks nothing whether playing at home or away games, and games he starts will be sold out with no empty seats, and related merchandise will fly off the shelves immediately, so as a result he will become a highly valuable player even for major league teams who will want to sign him. The reporter and the blonde-haired guy then talk amongst themselves about Taehun and how he has been performing throughout the game with such impressive discipline and power. The reporter realizes that Taehun's knee has returned back to normal condition and he is no longer limited by the injury that plagued him before. After seeing the match progress and unfold, the blonde-haired guy asks the reporter a question about if Matsu is getting pulled back on purpose by the coach to save his arm. After that, the two of them keep on talking about every player on the field and analyzing their performances and what they bring to their respective teams. How long do you think it will take for Ji-hyuk to dominate the professional league? Comment Taejun Hawks if you'd like a part 2 of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more sports manhwa recaps.